our distinguished guests, members of the bar, colleagues from the media fraternity, our online audience joining us across from different platforms, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all and praise the name of the Lord. You are most welcome to the 16th edition of our Rnblive weekly hybrid press and public engagement hosted by the Radical New Bar under the leadership of the Uganda Law Society. We are coming to you live from the Uganda Law Society Secretariat House, and it is an honor to be in your presence. Yet again, I would like to take the honor to introduce myself. I'm by the name Robert Benon Jirua. I am a Rule of Law and Litigation Officer under the Rule of Law Department. It is my singular honor to be in your presence, and I will take the charge of moderating this session. Once again, you're most welcome. Today, we gather at the Uganda Law Society House not merely to talk about matters that are not important, but rather matters that touch the heart of as many things as are going to cut across, from governance to wellness to accountability and realities in Uganda. Today's engagement is very, very timely and deeply human because we are going to engage in matters tackling the 11th Parliament performance and of course the outlook of what was now constituted as the 12th Parliament in our most recent political engagements as a country, the evolving nature of relationships in modern society with particular focus on men's mental health and surviving toxic work environments, and finally, healthcare at work, which is often neglected but increasingly urgent and a very critical public health conversation in this digital era, especially for those, of course, who are either wearing specs like I am and those that are in the house, but also for those that either do not know what their status of the eyes are and are interested therefore to find out. This is where you're going to get the conversations. As always, we remain very committed to meaningful dialogue, civic consciousness, and practical solutions to the issues that we bring forth to you, given our mandate from the Uganda Law Society Act under Section 3D and E to ensure access to justice and information to the public and to the lawyers at hand. Thank you so much once again for joining us, and would like to begin, of course, by reading for you the program that is going to flow as follows. We are going to begin the day with singing the national anthems. Thereafter, we shall engage in an opening prayer from within the house, and thereafter we shall listen into the CEO's remarks that are going to be welcoming us, setting the tone, and organizing the protocol for the day. And thereafter we shall delve into our topic number 1, as shall be read out to us by the CEO in her remarks. And thereafter we shall engage into topic number 2, and thereafter we shall unpack topic number 3 and engage in a question and answer session, which will be coming from both those that are joining us from within the building, but also very importantly from those that are joining us online. Just for you to know, we have a very big following online, and majority of our followers are joining us online because of what we term as digital transformation, which we all know of late is the in thing. And thereafter we shall have a closure for the day, having had very meaningful discussions. As we speak, I would like to request you to get up on your feet so that we can sing our national anthems. Thank you.
tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you so much. Kindly take your seats as we invite Mr. Jude Echebu to lead us in an opening prayer in order to welcome the presence of the Lord into the building. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Members, let's pray. Abba Father, the giver of justice and the custodian of justice, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this moment. We pray, oh God, that even as we go into our discussions, that you shall guide and lead them. We pray that you shall open our eyes to all areas of justice, to all areas that we need to look into, to live better as people. We pray, oh God, for your insight. We pray for your guidance. And above all, we pray, oh God, that you will help us be able to deliver to your people much better. In Jesus' name we prayed. Amen.
Thank you so much for that warm prayer. We believe the Lord is in this presence and we are going to have very meaningful conversations. We thank you so much once again. Right about now, I would like to welcome the head of Department Rule of Law, Miss Afra Apio, who is going to take the honor to read out unto us the remarks of the CEO who is currently engaged in other critical activities. Thank you.
Honorable guests, Honorable Paul Mwiru, MP Jinja East Municipality, East Constituency, Mr. Derek Kakoza, Speaker of the Central Youth Parliament, Mr. Gideon Mwanje, President of the Law Students Association of East Africa, Emeritus, Ms. Catherine Nampiba, Public Relations Officer, Rule of Law Club, School of Law, Makerere, Dr. David Ronald Iga, Chief of Operations, Rnblive, Ms. Mary Lynette Mohira, Eye Specialist Lapea Eye Clinic, Council members joining us online, esteemed members of Uganda Law Society, members of the press, good morning. My name is Apio Afra. I'm the head rule of law, Uganda Law Society. I bring you warm greetings from the CEO, Ms. Christine Awori, who is currently engaged in another equally important meeting. And my chief task this morning is to read her opening remarks verbatim. I shall proceed to do so. On behalf of the Radical Yuba President, Mr. Isaac Semaka, the Senior Counsel, I warmly welcome you to the 16th session of the Rnblive series, a hybrid digital and physical engagement of the Radical Yuba with the press and the public that happens every Thursday and is a brainchild of our dynamic RNB President. We deeply appreciate the time you have taken to engage with us as we delve into topical and impactful discussions during each Rnblive live session. Today is no exception, as we are set for yet another enriching and thought-provoking experience with our distinguished guests. The ULS is proud to be a platform that brings together highly experienced professionals that are from diverse fields, making it a vibrant and dynamic space for meaningful engagement. Today, we gather to discuss three critical topics that are pertinent to our nation's development and the well-being of our citizens. Our first topic is performance of the 11th Parliament and the outlook for the 12th Parliament. The transition from Uganda's 11th to 12th Parliament marks a significant moment in the country's legislative history. This transition is more than a routine political process. It is a defining opportunity for Parliament to reaffirm its constitutional role as the voice of the people and a pillar of accountable governance. Uganda's 11th Parliament, 2021 to 2026, concluded its term amidst high legislative output, passing over 140 bills. However, it was also heavily criticized by governance watchdogs for weak executive oversight. The 12th Parliament, under the leadership of Right Honourable Speaker Jacob Maxons Oboth, began its term in May 2026, facing a mandate to restore public trust and respond to widespread demands for accountability and financial prudence. This discussion is crucial as it offers the nation and current members of Parliament an opportunity to reflect on the past and shape a better future for Uganda. Our second topic is relationships in modern day, your mental check. Modern day relationships present unique challenges today. They are often defined by digital burnout, the ambiguity of situationships, and the pressure to balance personal independence in our everyday lives. A mental check simply means taking a step back to assess whether your relationships and connections are fostering your mental well-being or draining your emotional energy. This conversation is both timely and necessary in helping individuals navigate relationships in healthier and more intentional ways. Our third topic is eye health care at work. Workplace eye health care rests on two key pillars: protecting our eyes from physical injuries in high-risk environments and preventing digital eye strain in office settings. We are privileged this morning to have LAPEA join us to discuss this important topic. As lawyers, we are constantly reading and working on screens, making eye strain almost inevitable. I therefore implore everyone to take their eye health very seriously. I am pleased to share that we have engaged with the team from LAPEA who have graciously agreed to provide eye checkup for lawyers. The dates of these sessions will be communicated in due course. I would like to thank our distinguished guests, participants, and the general public for joining us today. Your contributions will enrich our discussions and provide valuable insights into the topics at hand. With that, I hereby declare this engagement officially open, and I look forward to a productive and enlightening discussion. Thank you. Signed, Christina Worry, CEO.
Our CEO deserves a bigger hand clap than that. She has ably set the pace and given us a foundation upon which to go by our day. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your very warm remarks, but also for your continued guidance and leadership. We are also aware of your busy schedule. We also know that every once in a while you tap that button and watch us. So thank you so much. We'd like to appreciate you for what you have shared with us. Of course, there's been very critical aspects you have highlighted about topic number one, which is of course what we're going to begin with, governance and democratic accountability. And easily it has been noted that Parliament remains one of the most consequential institutions in any democracy. Like you have realized, they are supposed to make the laws, appropriate resources, check the executive, and ideally it carries the voice of the people, because each of us here in this building has a representative in the Parliament of Uganda. And why not come and discuss matters that involve the Parliament, the past Parliament as the 11th Parliament, and the second, or the ongoing one, which has just been sworn in. And yet, of course, we have witnessed very many different emotional feelings about the previous Parliament. There's been a lot of praise for some, there's been a lot of controversy, a lot of confrontation, a lot of public disappointment, and institutional resilience. And as countrymen, it is only important for us to come and unpack what this parliament is all about, and would like to ask a few questions like, how would you objectively assess the performance of the 11th parliament? I think we're all aware of what has been happening, including up to the end, and after all, we're going to ask the question, has parliament effectively performed its oversight role over the executive, or better still, what have been the biggest legislative achievements and failures of this parliament? She has just mentioned that over 140 bills were passed. It is a very, very big number, but we want to understand it from the horse's mouth. We have been blessed to have a very, very astute member of parliament in the building who is also a lawyer and has also previously been in the race for the speakership, and that was just in the most recent elections that were undertaken at Kololo, where elections were held, and he was also a part of the 11th parliament, and that for us is supposed to be a good pace setter, because we are speaking about somebody who is a proponent for restoration of rule of law in parliament. He is a proponent for equity and inclusivity, as well as responsiveness to the aspirations of Uganda. And he is, of course, also a proponent for competence, exemplary and accountable leadership in as far as rule of law is concerned. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me welcome Honorable Mwiru Paul to the podium to unpack for us topic number 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, everybody. Paul Mwiru is my name. I was not in the 11th Parliament. I was the 9th and 10th, and then I'm going to be in the 12th Parliament. What I wanted to start with is the basics, that power belongs to you. Power belongs to the people. That is a constitutional provision which says that actually it is that power which you decide on how it should be exercised, that through the constitutional making process you actually decided that you should have a legislature as an arm of government. And that legislature is established by Article 77, the Parliament. Its composition under Article 78 and the functions under Article 79. And the role of Parliament is to make laws on any matter for the peace, order, and development of the country. Parliament has, in its functions, the first one is to make law. That there is no law in Uganda or anything made which has the force of law, which can be enforced if it has not been approved by Parliament. That's the starting point. The other function is oversight, to the extent that when you pay a tax on anything, that money goes to the consolidated fund. And I think under Article 155, that money can leave only the consolidated fund if it has been voted on by Parliament, that money should leave the consolidated fund and go to perform a certain function and a vote function within the ministry or department. So there we do the oversight role. And doing oversight, when you read the Constitution, I think Article 264, it creates a duty for everybody to account in financial matters. That's why it establishes, 163 establishes the Office of the Auditor General, that whoever touches public resources, you are bound to account, even when you left office. And giving effect to those provisions, according to Article 9 of our Constitution, established the committees of Parliament through which Parliament operates in giving effect to the accountability role in Parliament. So when Parliament is dealing with accountability on financial matters, it operates through committees, the accountability committees of Parliament. That whoever receives money needs to account. We have been hearing you people complaining. You see, once you accept any public money to go into your account in effect becomes a public account. That's why you have heard when they freeze people's account. People say, but you see, why are you freezing someone's account? But we are tracing for public money. Because he or she allowed public money to go into his or her account. Meaning you have opened yourselves to public scrutiny. That's on the financial matter. The way Parliament operates, we receive reports from the Auditor General on the financial audits, and those reports are scrutinized by the committees, and the committees report to Parliament, which Parliament votes on the recommendations to the executive. Those recommendations, the decisions of Parliament hold government to account are not self-executing. Once the committee of the whole House passes those resolutions, they go back to Minister of Finance to tell the executive to implement. And the cycle is only complete if they have implemented, and Auditor General does a Treasury memoranda reporting on action taken on the recommendations of Parliament in as far as accountability in the financial aspect is concerned. The other aspect, but under that, there are challenges. That the biggest challenge in Uganda, people talk about accountability, they look at it in terms of money. But my humble view is that there must be accountability around power and policy. If I'm a member of Parliament, and I'm a chairperson, let's say, of a Public Accounts Committee, if I engage in maladministration, that is more dangerous than even the corruption people talk about. Because you're a gatekeeper, and you're indulging into failing to get the truth, and you're covering the truth more than you would reveal it. So one of the biggest problems when it comes to financial accountability in the country is maladministration. Maladministration is a situation where someone who is supposed to perform a certain task to hold someone accountable acquiesces in trying to cover the truth than revealing the truth. In my view, we need a law in that direction so that maladministration is more punishable than even corruption itself. Because otherwise, if we don't deal with maladministration, the cycle will not stop. The other aspect is on accountability, on oversight. We oversee, other than the part of the budget, whatever takes place, like the human rights situation in the Parliament, it is the duty of members of Parliament to follow up whatever is taking place. The executive, the judiciary, and other people are doing, and then raise these matters. That's why in the rules of procedure of Parliament, there is what we call matters of national importance. There is what we call question for oral answers, and there's the Prime Minister's question time. Because these are times when members must raise pertinent issues for an answer. Yes, I've read the topic, but I was trying to show under what circumstances. If you want us to account, or if you want us to mirror the past Parliament, we must mirror from the functions actually we do. The other duty has been the duty of appropriation. You see, every man, as I told you, whatever lives in the past must be voted for. That is actually passed through an appropriation act. I've held a view, which I will invite Uganda Law Society to interrogate, that once if money is voted out of the consent fund by an act, the appropriation act, then the recommendations out of the Auditor General should be binding, not advisory to government. Because people who go and help themselves with public resources, they cannot say that we took the money when Parliament voted it. But when Parliament is reporting on how the money has been used, that your recommendation are just advisory. I hold a view that since it is out of an Appropriation Act, those recommendations should be binding in as far as financial matters is concerned, as it is done in other jurisdictions. The other aspect is representation, where Parliament that's the function of members of Parliament, meaning that the members of Parliament, you see normally Parliament creates breaks and say we are going into recess. The purpose of recess is that the members of Parliament return to their constituencies to interact with their people, the voters who are their employer in any case, because I don't know who voted for them. So if we are to mirror the 11th Parliament with the 12th Parliament, of course, 11th Parliament has had its challenges, which you have all had. I'm not the spokesperson of Parliament, but when I was a candidate for speakership, at least my campaign was anchored on 4 pillars. The first was the restoration of rule of law in the Parliament. Because the way we were proceeding, there was purely a problem. I had people saying that, there is no strict separation of powers. After all, even when the president, when Parliament makes a law, passes a law, it might be assented to by the president. That would mean that actually it would be Parliament to complete the entire business. That there's no harm in the mixture, but there is. Because the only way you hold people to account by knowing that there is a watchdog of some sort here. Our people, for instance, don't fear the media. They fear scrutiny. And when I talked about accountability as one of the pillars, I was saying that there must be scrutiny of what Parliament does. That's why I was arguing that it was going to become a policy directive that after every quarter, Parliament must publicize the works they have done within the quarter and the cost to see whether there is value for money in terms of accountability. Then, the leaders themselves, we must also account. It's not true that we are the alpha and omega. The way things used to be that Parliament doesn't account to anybody. Parliament must account to the public. The other pillar was ensuring that the aspirations and the aspirations of the Ugandans would be decided from the workings of Parliament. You saw where a bill was rushed as if it was about building an hospital. People were dying and there was no another place to be. The way bills are initiated, all laws, are to deal with a certain mischief in society. Bills are initiated in cabinet by a cabinet memoranda, which clearly details what the problem is, the judicial review they have done, and why that particular law actually is required. But some of those issues, the way they were rushing bills, left a lot to be desired. And God does things His way, exposed them on the sovereignty bill. Because they had to change almost 90% of the bill. Then the question would be, what happened to the other 140 bills, 140 bills which were rushed in the similar way? In the 9th and 10th Parliament, when a bill was laid in Parliament, it would be referred to the relevant committee, and the Speaker, some controversial bills would normally create time, leave for members of Parliament to go and consult their constituencies on these bills. Not in a very hasty way that people are actually rushing to pass the bills. So that has been one pillar which I thought needs to be restored. That people must see themselves in the workings of Parliament. After all, the Parliament is for the people. Parliament isn't for members of Parliament. They are also people, but they are there to deal with the aspirations of the public. That's why we need to account. The other one was equity and inclusivity. I had been given to understand that cartels had been created and cliques. in Parliament. And I'm glad the Deputy Speaker, when he was speaking to the members during the orientation, he had to come out clear on that matter. Because there are some MPs of my caliber who will never go to a speaker's office to beg for a trip or to beg for a favor, because I believe it will compromise my oath and in effect compromising my work. So that's why we are saying there must be an equitable way of doing things in the Parliament, so that the people don't shift their allegiance from the voters now to the Speaker, because you are looking for per diem. You understand? That is when we talk about equity and inclusivity. Of course, when we talked about restoration of the rule of law, many things, there was no budget discipline. That all the votes, you see Parliament also, it has vote holders. Parliament is a vote, but there are departments where when you are raising a budget, it rises from departments. Work plans are generated from the department. So when the money would come, it will be raided, and there would be and everybody would fear to talk. Because you never know, if you complain, you may not get a trip. So I'm saying that now we can do better. We can do better. I'm impressed with the 12th Parliament. I've seen some seasoned members of Parliament who are there, but also the way we start also is very important. That's why my candidature was in twofold for speakership: to present the opposition alternative vision for Parliament, and I'm glad the Speaker who won, Honorable Jacob both, Honorable Speaker. Actually, if you look at his 7 points now, the 4 points I raised form part of his 7. But if we did not run, who knows, maybe they will not even consider dealing with those matters. Then, lastly, is holding the executive and the judiciary to account. Because there was a merger, and I challenge Uganda Law Society, the election petitions were filed. They must be handled expeditiously. But because Parliament would not talk, because there was almost like a merger of the legislature and the judiciary, they buried the petitions up to now. Nothing has been done on those petitions. They are hiding that there was no special money to deal with election petitions because it's specialized legislation. At the end of the day, people who are not supposed to be in the Parliament are going to be in the Parliament for this period. They are going to borrow as if there is no tomorrow. They are going to get money grant for the car. By the time they are removed from Parliament, they will have caused financial loss to the public. So I will implore Uganda Law Society to write to the Chief Justice. The law says the petition must be disposed of in a certain period of time. They used to be handled expeditiously until this notion of people wanting to get allowance from election petition, that they do it a special session. Why should handling election petition become a special matter? Because this petition would have been disposed of by the resident judges even as of now. What is so special with handling election petition? So that means that the part which would be supervising, people who would be raising those issues now in the Parliament will be Parliament. That's if the Speaker allowed the same to be raised. But since we exist in our own right, and we are not looking for favors now, there is a platform to raise those matters. Then the appointments, like the appointment committees in the Parliament, where Parliament must do its work, vet people who are appointed to public office. The way it was being done before, it was that whoever would come would pass, and people would rush for favors from those people. Because once council appears before you, when she's coming for approval, as a judge, you know, maybe let me pass her, maybe when I have a case, I'll go to her. That must stop. You approve a monster in a public office, he or she will descend on the public. You will have failed in your duty. So I want to say that the 12th Parliament is alive to the challenges of the 11th Parliament. And we would not wish to inherit a badge of dishonor. We want to begin on a fresh page. So having said that, I want to thank you for having listened to me. I had a tight schedule, but my brother here, when he extended the invitation, I will not turn it down. But I want to, for now, to allay the fears of everybody. It's not going to business as usual. We have been around. We are not looking for favors from anybody. We are here to serve our people. That was also the fear which other members had in the 11th Parliament. People would fear to raise anything. And at the other time I saw the Deputy Speaker. Like what I liked about him, that he was responding to issues we were raising. So we cannot run Parliament like a cartel. That himself even fear to come to Parliament someday when he doesn't have money to give MPs. Just imagine an institution where the Speaker is hiding from his own members because he doesn't have money to give them. We told him, you don't need to give him MP any money. They are paid. You understand? If you complain about that being done by voters, displacing MPs in their constituencies, then how can you members displace a speaker? How will you complain about the 1 inch when they are displacing an MP? So I'm very optimistic that with the leadership we have in the Parliament, we may have disagreements in other issues, but they have given the assurance that they will operate as per the law, and the wishes and aspirations of our people will be met. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Paul Mwiru, for that very hearty breakdown of your expectations and outlook of the 11th Parliament. Will pardon me for the error of you not being in the 11th. So you are a watcher. You saw everything that happened in the last Parliament. And of course, from what he has just said, I tie it down to an African proverb that says, when the rhythm changes, the dance must also change. The Honorable is here to tell us that it is a fresh page and the 12th Parliament is alive to the challenges of the 11th Parliament. He has also helped us as a parliamentarian and also one that was in the 9th and the 10th to give us a few basics. It's also a learning curve, as you're aware. This is a very engaging discussion that helps those that are here and listening very attentively to learn. The last week we were here with Professor Mwembesa, who was teaching us about the different categories of corruption, and he has touched some of them. Things like favoritism, like getting per diem for you, which of course compromises your commentary as far as representation is concerned. Of course, he has also spoken about the role of Parliament, and it's very important for us to allow to be educated, because in this building we're here to learn and unlearn. Where you thought you knew better, you are going to be schooled. It's very important for us to appreciate the role of the parliamentarians we send to Parliament, because this is an every 5-year cycle. Public accounts have also been spoken about, in which we are supposed to own the responsibility once you have been given public money. But also to the Honorable, he has spoken about more than corruption. To him, as he said, maladministration takes the day for him, because therein lies so many vices for which only corruption is one. Okay, so I think we need to take cognizance of his lecture or insights as far as the 11th Parliament challenges and performance is concerned. Of course, he has also spoken about that fear that can never be spoken about, just because the Auditor General has most likely given a report. You know, when the Auditor General gives a report, it is subject to be given to the public, but also we have found that the Auditor General's report has become more of advisory than he says it should be binding. So because you received the money from Parliament and you used the line that it has been allocated by Parliament. So when now the Auditor General comes and gives a report about your performance, it shouldn't be advisory because it defeats the purpose, which makes a lot of sense, and that is for us to appreciate as we continue with the day. Of course, he has also hinted on how much his vision for speakership has already been embedded in the current speaker's vision, which of course shows how much aligned he is, and also because of course he belongs to the National Unity Platform, which of course brings an oversight on the government that is, and of course if he can tell us that his vision is embedded in the current speaker's vision, that already shows that there is going to be some relationship that is commendable between the parties, and we also pray for a healthy relationship. He has of course given us a challenge as the Uganda Law Society to continue one in our advocacy for the rule of law, which of course we are doing as we speak right now, and it's always beautiful to have members of the public engaged as well as members of the bar who are here, and those that are watching us online, but also very importantly to see to it that these matters that are of public concern like election petitions are handled. He made a very critical analysis of how an MP who has won an election has been, whose victory has been petitioned to court, and court has not listened to it, and he has sworn in. You see, when you swear in, straight away, you're considered one, right? And therefore, those monies are given out, especially the one he spoke about, that token. And of course, he'll have to use it. But remember, his case is still in court. His or her case is still in court. What if she's declared, he or she is declared a villain? What happens? There is no refund, or do we just move on? And then the new member of parliament will also come and is most likely entitled to the same. So that those resources are taxes that are due from us to the government, for which we should have accountability. I cannot thank you so much, Mr. Honorable Paul Mwiru. I am very privileged, and you were able to accept our invitation amidst a very busy schedule. You know, they have just been swearing in, and there's orientation going on, if I'm not mistaken. So for you to come and be in our presence for us is really an honor. We are very, very grateful. And he also intimated that he has a schedule at the NUP headquarters for the launch of a few other critical matters that he needs to attend to, but he also graciously accepted that we unpack topic number 1 so that he is able to take 1 or 2 questions from the audience and from the public in order to help to leave this matter completely addressed. And we want to try to just wrap it up and get into the next speakers who are going to help us delve into the topic so that we can have a full understanding of what it takes. And thank you so much. We would like to invite a very prominent young Ugandan legal scholar, author, and youth leader who has risen from prominence through his leadership in national and regional legal associations and in his academic contributions to international refugee law. He has been a student at at Nkumba University, where he pursued his LLB. He has also been a regional student leader who has had a prolific track record in student governance and has previously served as the president of Nkumba University Law Society and subsequently as the president of the Law Students Association of Uganda. In May 2024, he was unanimously elected as the president of the Law Students Association of East Africa, which position he held up to 2025 November, which makes him, of course, an emeritus. He's also an author and a publisher. He's recognized for authoring what is noted as East Africa's first refugee law book, a very significant contribution expected to serve as a cornerstone reference text for regional courts, law schools, and humanitarian organizations. Currently, he is at the Law Development Center, Kampala campus, a youth leader under the Vision Plan for Uganda 2100, is that right? Yes, I would like to also notify the public that we have been joined by students, which is, of course, in the heart of the president of the Uganda Law Society. So this discussion is really supposed to cut across regardless of background and status, because remember, the parliament speaks for all people regardless of age. So we are a very inclusive organization that caters to the needs of the general public, among us which involve the majority of the population, which is the youth. So it is also very important for us to know that we have students with us, and the Uganda Law Society operates in these institutions of learning in form of rule of law clubs. So we have rule of law clubs established in different learning institutions ranging from secondary, high school, and university. We are privileged to have students with us in the building. Please clap for yourselves. We're very, very thankful that you've been able to make it, and would like to use this opportunity for the leaders with whom we have interacted to help us unpack that question. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me among us the student leaders that we have just been talking about, Mr. Mwanje Gideon.
Habari. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Council Benon. Thank you so much, the Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much, our senior, Honorable Paul. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation. I believe the students here have been taking notes, like how I've been doing, because that was so wonderful. I'll do what the Kenyans like saying, that protocol observed, but because of the stature of Honorable Paul Mwilu, allow me at least recognize his presence. Before I can start, allow me to congratulate some of my good friends and mentors. I would like to congratulate Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, who's my good mentor, upon her appointment as the first Deputy Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister for East African Affairs. Colleagues, I think in the same way I congratulate Honorable Balam, who's a great friend, Honorable Calvin Echodu, and Eddie Kenzo, who happened to be my good friend, his wife, Honorable Nyamutoro, upon such appointment. But today, we are not talking about the executive. We are talking about one of the greatest arm of government. And I'm happy that the first speaker, who I hold in high regard, mentioned about the duty and the mandate this parliament has under the law or under the constitution. Some years ago, I was ending my primary education, and we happened to have visited the parliament. We took a guided tour through the grand guide of the parliament, and what was catching to me was the seat that was isolated. I asked the teacher that was leading us that who sits in that seat, because to me, I thought it was a king who was sitting in that seat. The teacher told me that, with a smile, that if you happen to be just and speak for the people, if you happen to be a neutral arbiter, you happen to sit in that seat and become a referee, just like a match. His words didn't make sense to me because of my age. But recently, such words have come to echo back to my understanding, and I'll be able to enlighten more regarding that. I thank the Uganda Society for coming up with such a timely topic. That is good, and I'll applaud them for that. The topic at hand is performance of the 11th Parliament and the outlook for the 12th Parliament. And I'm so happy that at least we have a member of the 12th Parliament, which I know most of the discussion and the presentation we shall make here, you will be able to pick a few of our recommendations. Before we can look at the 11th Parliament to assess it, this is not Judgment Day, but I believe we shall be able to highlight some of the issues that transpired. Let us remind ourselves of the history we have forgotten. The parliament that you see in the 1950s, that's when the building was elected by the British, who were governing Uganda by then. And you remember, I think around December 4th, 1945, that's when the first Africans happened to enter into that legico, call it Legislative Council. And when they moved in, their mandate and their aspirations was to move with that dignity and take on the aspirations of the people, the very many Africans that who wanted their voices to be heard. Did not move into parliament for their own selfish gains. They moved into parliament because they had a mandate they wanted to execute. In 1995, those students, good students of law, you know that the Constitution became one of the cornerstones that we refer to, that brought the rule of law as we understand it better, that brought the idea of separation of powers as we respect it, that brought the idea of accountability, how we understand it, and particularly Article 79, which gives Parliament the mandate to make laws, is divided into three major points that I'll be able to highlight. And one is legislation, two, it's oversight, and maybe being able to represent the public. The oversight, if you are to relate to the 11th Parliament, I won't be shy to say that the 11th Parliament has been a controversial parliament from the onset. Yes, you applaud them for being able to legislate a lot of laws, but the issue here is not about how many laws you legislate, but the issue is about how these laws are beneficial to the public. I'm so disappointed with particularly the youth members of parliament, of the 11th Parliament, I should say. Most of the laws that have been controversial have been laws that are affecting youth, but there's no any day I saw any one of them coming and challenging such laws. They remain silent, yet most of the youth are suffering. Talk about the sovereignty bill. I was at LDC, and good enough that week we were studying about legislative drafting. And I was so excited to ask a question to one of the RPA that you are teaching us the process of legislative drafting. But it happens to be that what we are seeing on TV, this is not what we are learning about. And he just laughed, and she confessed that indeed she has also never seen such a process happen in the country. It's on record. You can consult with the LDC students. You see, this parliament has not been controversial only in the recent days. Remember that even the law that was passed, Computer Misuse Act, that particularly also targets youth. And recently you saw what court had to say about it. The dismissal of Honorable Zake from Parliament. All those are controversial matters that I believe that any neutral arbiter, any parliament that is aware of the procedures, the rule of law, and the mandate it holds, it can never do that. Most of you have seen a video that has been trending all over, where the Speaker of the former Parliament, when Honorable Semju Nganda moved the motion and asked members who in support say yeah, they had it, She kept quiet for a while and said, no, the nay have it. You saw that video. It was on TV, UBC, the national television. My teacher told me that day that a person who sits in that seat is a neutral arbiter. My teacher told me that day that a person who sits in that isolated seat is a referee. And a referee, you cannot play. You cannot play. You cannot kick the ball. But you have heard speeches from that said speaker in the 11th Parliament saying, I have done what you have told me. I've got for you the numbers. Happily and proud to say that. I wrote an article recently, and one of the members of Parliament in the 11th Parliament came to my inbox and was telling me, how dare could you write that? The article was titled, I hope history never forgives the 11th Parliament. I said it at heart. You can search about it. It's on various media platforms. I hope history never forgives the 11th Parliament. I have never seen a parliament like that. The parliament that has been controversial from the onset. The parliament that has gone into bed with the executive. And I say this boldly. You are seeing some proceedings that are happening and terming some of the members of this parliament as corrupt. But I dare you, if they happen to prosecute that former speaker, I will leave Uganda. If they prosecute her and convict her, I will leave Uganda. I say it boldly, Mr. Benon, let it be on record. You know, this is politics. And you know, Ugandans, you are so much excited. You take things, yeah. After some time, you'll forget. And all you'll see, someone is free and they have given that person a better position than that. So, the 11th Parliament, to me, I hope history never forgives you. I hope what you did haunts you the rest of your lives. The dear members of Parliament who were in the 11th Parliament, we are so disappointed. When we were studying legislative drafting, they told us that consultation is a key process. And I'm happy that the Honorable Member of Parliament highlighted about it. And consultation doesn't mean that you appear before a committee of Parliament. These members of Parliament have constituencies. And people had views. Allow them to go to their constituencies and hear from their people. Because if you take that consultation and appearing before the committee is sufficient, it's not. Because the decisions of the committee are based on their structure and political will. If the committee is already biased and formed by people who aspire to push such agenda, trust me, you won't leap anything from the committee. And I'm so disappointed that in this same parliament, it wasn't a parliament of the people. It was a parliament of the executive. For so many bills that were being tabled, you found out instead of going to the constituencies, they had to go and meet the caucus. The party leaders are guiding them. Why? It is the people who sent to the parliament that need to tell you, we don't want this. We want this. Not your party leader to tell you now, you have to support, you have the numbers. We have mobilize and we see how best we can have this law passed. It's no longer a parliament of the voices and representation of people. It's about the numbers. Who has the numbers? You see how the party whip does to mobilize and see that by the time they come to vote, the numbers are with them. That's so bad. I hope history never forgives the 11th Parliament. But I'm happy and a bit sad that recently the 12th Parliament now came to office. But the question to ask ourselves, is it change of new wine in the old bottles? You have seen the precedents. You have seen such people who are taking up offices that also they're not coming with clean hands. The newsrooms and other platforms have reported some instances. With due respect, I'm not speaking out of bias, but these are facts. and evidence is there. So you can't tell us that under your 7-point agenda, your first point is corruption, yet you don't come with clean hands. How can we trust your words? But you never know. I always believe in miracles. Miracles can happen, and we hope so. Hope miracles happen. But for me, I don't see any hope there. And it's unfortunate that Honorable Paul has left, but I would pose it to him because he told us that he has hope in that agenda because some of the points were in his manifesto. But I personally, no. There's no miracle that I'm expecting there. So members, I would like to call upon the 12th Parliament that you have not gone to that Parliament to push the agenda of your party, to push the aspirations of your leaders in that party, but the aspiration of the people. You are the voice of the people. And once such voice is shattered, trust me, the people have nothing to do, have nowhere to run. I was reading news recently, Kenyan TV, and the High Court had passed a decision against the parliament's idea of having that national prayer, and they wanted to see accountability. Who does it in Uganda? I wrote so many articles regarding the sovereignty bill that it was even contravening the treaty of the East African Community, because in the wording of the treaty you find out that East African members are foreigners. If you read the treaty, a foreign country is not a country under the East African Community umbrella. A foreign country is a country outside the East African Community. We are bound by this treaty as Uganda. If you are trying to isolate ourselves, we are pushing for integration, and for you, you are isolating from the rest of the East Africans. You find out that the treaty actually puts East African community institutions into being foreign institutions, organizations, being foreigners, which means that Ugandan citizens who work for these institutions are foreign agents. And we are happy talking about Jumuiya. It's unfortunate that Mr. Maweri is not with us today, but I believe that will be a point of having a suit against such law. Members, I don't want to be the guest speaker of the day, but I would like to end with a quote that from Martin Luther King Jr. when he said that in the end, we shall not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Even the Parliament, you are not friends to the people. And I hope history never forgives you. For God and my country, may God bless East Africa.
Thank you so much, Gideon. That has been a very vicious presentation that has come from the heart. You have not fallen short of developing your analysis from the bottom of your heart. It has been, of course, a very critical pick from the 11th Parliament. It clearly shows what the rest of the world or the country is feeling about the 11th Parliament. Like we said from the beginning of the conversation, there has been a lot of mixed emotions. We don't want to only use the one of regret and disbelief. There's also good things that happen in that Parliament. Let's also agree to that, because for 5 years, there was never a scenario where the Parliament was overtaken. Not to say that what he has mentioned has been amiss, no, wrong. Of course, we have a right to speak. We have a right to express ourselves as it is in the country, and we want to take your remarks as your own. He is not speaking on behalf of the Uganda Law Society, ladies and gentlemen. This is an audience that comes, a platform that we simply create to analyze and pack topics that are up for discussion by the public. And of course, he has mentioned very critical things that I think have to be reflectionary, especially for the masses. And of course, the new parliament, the referee doesn't kick the ball. Speaking of which, this session is also dedicated to all Arsenal fans in the building and all those that are watching us online, because at least in the period of the 11th parliament, one thing happened. Guess what it was? Arsenal lifted the trophy. So, Gideon, that was a good thing. You cannot take that away. So let Ugandans celebrate. Okay? That was a basic breaker, yes, but the referee doesn't kick the ball, and that is the role of the parliament, especially the speaker. You cannot have such sentiments and remarks made in public to the people that are wondering what has been happening. For you to say, I just needed you to bring the numbers, I have done your job. You remember those words were very critical. They were very disheartening, and of course we would like to take spite about those statements. The intimidation from speaking your mind, if you received calls about an article that you wrote, I wonder what they were like, but we might not get so much into the detail. That also shows that there's something that is not real, you know? And as students, especially the students that are before us, we don't want to use this as to show what is in the parliament, but you need to know. It is your role to know, because we are no longer the future for tomorrow. We are the future. It is incumbent upon us to get analysis from what happens and the surroundings around you. And of course, you have promised to leave the country if ever the former speaker is prosecuted. I don't know about that. We hope we shall see you in the country 5 years from now, which means the period of prosecution can take some time. But we don't want to get so much into the detail of what transpired. What we want to do is have an outlook of the performance of the parliament and the aspect of consultation, as you mentioned, which is what we are doing here, consulting the masses, consulting the public, and dealing with the media, which is a very critical aspect. You remember there was a certain media house that was expelled from the parliament for analyzing matters to do with the parliament. Those are some of the critical things that were spoken about the parliament. But you've also given us some hope for the 12th parliament, just like the pre-current speaker spoke to us, who I must say has offered his apologies. He could not stand to be here because of his very busy schedule, like we had explained. So you'll bear with us. It was a very critical decision that we had to take by excusing him. He leaves regards, and we have also picked from his notes. We shall analyze and interrogate his remarks after we have listened to the next individual who we want to introduce to us to also continue to help us unpack that topic of the outlook of the 11th Parliament. But also, while we were at that, we were joined by La Paire opticians who are in the building, and they're going to help us to unpack a topic of that nature. But also, I would like to notify you officially, especially to the staff that are here and those that are seated in the audience, that La Paire is offering free eye checkups in the building right now. So as we're here listening into the critical discussions, you are free to walk behind and find a team of uniformed, dedicated staff of La Paire that are going to be giving you a free eye check. And as the CEO also quoted in her remarks, there is going to be a much bigger free eye care check for the members of the Uganda Law Society, but also to the public, as has always been the case. If you remember last year, we were able to host lawyers from different places and locations when trying to renew their national IDs. We are saying this exercise this time around is not to renew your ID, but rather to come and check on your eyes so that you're able either not to fall into using specs, or at least address matters that should be found as affecting your eyes. We shall get a debrief from the distinguished guest that is going to be speaking especially about that. But as we talk right now, we are going to be inviting a year 1 LLB student from the School of Law, Makerere, and also a representative of Makerere Mood Society class, but also, very importantly, part of the Women Leaders of Africa Makerere chapter. She is an ex-official, and this is going to be because we want to be inclusive. As we said, we are going to be listening to the students because it matters so much, because they are in representation of the majority of the population of the country. Whereas we would like to listen to those that are more senior to us, it's important to hear out what the youth are thinking, and there is no better place, no better time, and no better platform other than at the Uganda Law Society where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Miss Nampima Catherine, who is the Public Relations Officer, Rule of Law Club, Makerere.
Esteemed members of the Uganda Law Society, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Nampima Catherine, and I'm here to submit on topic 1 from the perspective of a law student, thanks to the Uganda Law Society's president, Isaac Semakade, who has an initiative to give a listening ear to the young voice. The legacy of the 11th Parliament, progress, pitfalls, and a path forward for the 12th Parliament. The 11th Parliament of Uganda, that served between 2021 and 2026, presents a major contradiction in Uganda's constitutional history after 1995. Under Article 79(3) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Parliament is supposed to make laws for the peace, order, development, and good governance of the country. During its term, however, the 11th Parliament passed laws at a very fast rate, raising concerns about whether it was truly acting independent or in good faith. Allow me to leave that for you, the audience, to answer after hearing what I have to say today. I'm going to break down my presentation into 3 main branches: progress, pitfalls, and a path forward. My first branch, progress, evaluates a substantive contribution to social and economic reforms from the 11th Parliament. While institutional erosion dominated the headlines, the 11th Parliament did achieve significant legislative milestones that addressed long-standing public grievances, and these acts represent the high watermark of the term, closing critical legal gaps in the social contract and responding to the urgent socio-economic needs of the Ugandan citizenry. Whereas I might not list every single one of the successfully passed legislative acts, allow me to throw some light on these 3. We had the Succession Act, Cap 268, that had an objective to modernize inheritance and property rights and put forward a strategic impact that advanced gender equality by securing equal inheritance rights for widows, widowers, and orphans. We had the NSSF Act, Cap 222, with a core objective to authorize mid-term access to retirement savings, strategic impact, which resolved a decade-long stalemate by granting savers 20% access to their benefits in case of any economic volatility. And thirdly, the National Climate Change Act, that had a core objective to codify Uganda's response to environmental degradation. It did have a strategic impact that established a legal framework for green initiatives and carbon market regulations. Having given credit where it is due, allow me address the other side of the coin that many of you here and online find a little bit more interesting. Pitfalls, my second branch. As the name suggests, one of the major pitfalls of the 11th Parliament was the procedural crisis. In the Ugandan context, constitutionalism refers to the adherence of the spirit and letter of the law, where the process of lawmaking is a non-negotiable requirement for democratic legitimacy. The 11th Parliament, however, was frequently accused of alleged procedural impropriety, often sacrificing due process for interval speed. Among the very many various amendments that were struck down by the courts due to procedural defects, we had the Computer Misuse Act, rationalization bills, and the Coffee Amendment Bill, among many others. These were passed relatively quick without giving public enough or reasonable opportunity to give their views or participation. We look at a very vivid, evident crisis that occurred. The UPDF bill was passed and it had to get feedback, right? Like the previous speaker said, there is legislative drafting that needs consultation. The Makerere Law Society received an invitation on the deadline of the evening right before the bill was to be discussed the next day. When do we have a chance? You cannot rush the law. You take time, you analyze it, you interpret it, and then you give feedback. Allow me to draw you to my main focus, which is the UPDF Amendment Act of 2024. This law was passed in just 7 days. You had Honorable Paul Murray talk about it, 7 days. And controversially, it allowed for the trial of civilians in military courts, which is quite, I would love to say, ironic. Hear me out. This move was widely condemned as unconstitutional, coming shortly and immediately after the Supreme Court had ruled against such trials. By a fast-tracking bill that effectively militarized civil justice under the guise of national security, the House signaled a prioritization of executive convenience over judicial precedent. You may ask, why do I say this? We're going to look around events that happened after the ruling in Attorney General versus Honorable Mike A. Kabaziguruka, Constitutional Appeal number 2 of 2021-2025. Honorable Michael Kabaziguruka, a civilian, was arrested, arraigned, and charged with offenses relating to security and treachery under the Uganda People's Defense Force Act of 2005 before the General Court Martial. I repeat, a civilian General Court Martial, where both the Constitutional Court and the Constitutional Court and the Court of Appeal ruled in favor of the respondent, saying that military courts are valid courts, but with limited or special jurisdiction and are not fully independent or impartial, thus do not meet fair trial standards. Whereas the Parliament, the 11th Parliament, could have argued, I don't know if they can still argue, but they would have maybe relied on a judgment from Chief Justice Owen Dolo, who tried to keep middle grounds in this case. And he said that the General Court Martial might not have the impartialness regarded or needed in the judicial system, but maybe they might have tried to create provisions in the UPDF Act for appeal from military courts and tribunals corresponding to appeals of the ordinary courts. However, it's quite controversial given after events. When the head of state dismisses a Supreme Court decision as wrong and justifies military trials of civilians on the basis that they are useful, that fundamentally shifts the standard from constitutionality to convenience, which is such a dangerous shift. What's troubling here is not just the disagreement with the Supreme Court. It's what that disagreement represents: a disregard for true constitutionalism basing on principles such as rule of law, separation of powers, among many others. The judiciary went ahead to exercise its constitutional mandate as the final interpreter of the law, but what followed? Executive overreach and resistance, and eventually legislative action to achieve a quite similar outcome. Closing on my second branch of pitfalls, when courts are justified by their usefulness in control, they risk becoming instruments of power rather than institutions of justice. So ladies and gentlemen, the issue here is far much bigger than military trials. It is whether constitutional limits actually mean anything when they come into conflict with political objectives. Moving on to my third and final branch, whereas they always say great minds think alike, yesterday while drafting my presentation with my fellow members of the Rule of Law Club, I asked them to quote Oloka Onyango, who the previous speaker has already quoted. But a path forward for the 12th Parliament, is it new wine or is it new bottles? On 25th May 2026, Uganda's 12th Parliament was sworn in at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds, with over 500 members of Parliament taking their oaths before a nation that has every reason to be skeptical, but has not yet surrendered its hope. The election of Jacob Maxon Oboth as the Speaker was the first major signal of the direction the new House intends to take. The new Speaker, however, made a promise saying, "We cannot demand accountability from others if we are not accountable in the use of public resources, and in the next 5 years, we will hold the executive and other government bodies accountable, but we must start with ourselves." Looking back at Honorable Paul Murray's presentation, he did put an emphasis on this, that the leaders themselves are not alphas nor omegas. They too are accountable. He also, the newly elected Speaker also extended an olive branch to the press by saying that the media are not our enemies, but the public's eyes and ears. If we're doing the right thing, there is no reason to hide. For a parliament where journalists' access for 5 years had been restricted, these words carry significant weight. And with these words in the palms of very many Ugandans, we hold our last beads of hope. The following are a few strategic mandates proposed for the 12th Parliament by the Rule of Law Club Makerere University that highlight what the 12th Parliament could opt to pick, drop, and adopt. Regional engagement, and legislative momentum. The 12th Parliament should retain the practice of holding regional plenary sessions, as seen in northern Uganda, to bridge the gap between the legislature and the electorate, while maintaining a steady pace of a pro-people legislation. The conveyor belt approach. This is one of the things we suggest the 12th Parliament should drop. The new House should abandon the habit of bypassing the process to meet executive timelines, which only leads to judicial annulments and lack of trust from the public. A strategy the 12th Parliament should adopt is strict constitutional and procedural adherence. The 12th Parliament must ensure that every bill undergoes the rigorous process mandated by the Rules of Procedure and Article 79 of the 1995 Constitution, ensuring that laws are both technically and constitutionally sound. This brings me to the conclusion of my submission. Allow me to say, Uganda doesn't need a parliament that just passes several laws quickly. It needs one that people trust, one that follows the law, one that questions power and represents citizens properly. If the 12th Parliament fails to fix these issues, public frustration won't go away. It will rather grow. The 11th Parliament showed what can go wrong. The 12th Parliament is a chance to get it right. For God and my country, in the law we trust, Nampima Catherine, Rule of Law Club, Macquarie University Public Relations Officer. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Oh wow, that was very, very, very awesome. Miss Nampima, you have done justice to the presentation and you have surpassed all expectations. May you be reminded that the president of the Uganda Law Society Senior Counsel, Isaac K. Semakade, is watching you and he is overly impressed. I have been sent a message by him and he has appreciated your presentation. Thank you so much. Once again, a round of applause for Catherine. She has done justice. May you be also reminded that this is a baby of the rule of law clubs that are under the establishment of the Uganda Law Society, and we are super proud of your presentation in light of the topic one that is up for discussion, its importance to the nation, to the society, and to the members that are watching you, and the future that you are, no longer just tomorrow. You are the future. We are living in the future, and it is only very soon that we are going to have you seated in the same parliament. We were also blessed with a young MP in the parliament of the age of 24 years. Is that right? That also means that you guys are not so far away, and the more you do this, the more we are going to have access to your beautiful brains. Thank you so much. You have highlighted very critical contributions to social and economic reform. You have also spoken about many things. You spoke about the Succession Act that was amended very objectively, the NSSF Act, the National Climate Change Act, and of course you spoke about the pitfalls. It is even more important because for you to get better in anything, you use your challenges, where you've fallen short, where you had challenges, and of course, the parliament was not any different from any organization that has had challenges, especially the ones that you signaled out, the Computer Misuse Act, which of course eventually was struck out because of its deficiencies. And of course, these rationalization bills and the Coffee Amendment Bill, the UPDF Act, you have brought out the things that have been disturbing the minds of citizens. And it's important because this is what we want the nation to know. This is what we want the 12th Parliament to know. And because, of course, the after events were not very nice. After the Supreme Court ruling from January this year, I imagine, when we celebrated, you remember the president of the Uganda Law Society went haywire. He gave some crazy celebrations, and we had expected that the rule of law has now taken center stage, only for us to realize that the implementation of this ruling has been a very thick thorn in our skin, to the extent that now the current DPP is still asking questions of, what do you want me to do? Okay? Which left a little more to be desired in as far as the ruling was concerned. And maybe also very important is the path forward. The path forward of the 12th Parliament, which you quoted our own lecturer. If he is not your lecturer now, is he still? Sorry? Oh, unfortunately, but you need to look for his writings, because I mean, there's nothing better than you can get from Professor Oloko Nyango. Is it new wine or new bottles? He was one of our lecturers, one of the favorite, especially about constitutionalism, which of course is the baby of the parliament. So it is a very critical presentation that comes in timely, and would like to thank you so much for making time. You did a lot of research, really. I'm here getting the remarks from the president. I would like to read it for you. Thank you so much for platforming and encouraging the young lady from Makerere. You need to give her a round of applause. Honestly speaking, she's done so well. and she's also the PRO of the Rule of Law Club at Makerere. But one thing more than anything else is she's an Arsenal supporter. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. It's about that time. It's about that time, and it is what it is. By the way, you need to take it up, take it as it comes, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to thank you so much for your presentation, and we're very honored to receive you. Please keep it up. We're going to continue to be in touch with you, and would like to ask that the Lord bless you amidst everything that you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to listen into DK, who is a fourth-year law student at Uganda Christian University, the vice president of the Launchpad Debate Club, the clerk of the 7th Parliament and the National Youth Parliament. He is the MP, School of Law, Uganda Christian University, and is also the Guild Speaker of the UCU Guild Parliament. He is currently the Deputy Speaker of the Central Youth Parliament, a member of the East African Youth Parliament, and a member of the Alternative Dispute Resolution Forum. He is also one of the brains behind the Youth Lens Spaces, an X-space that allows youth to express themselves on different matters of national importance, where President Isaac K. Semakade, the Senior Counsel, and the VP, Anthony Asimwe, have been guest speakers on different occasions. He's very passionate about youth advocacy, rule of law, ADR, and Arsenal. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Mr. Derek Kakoza.
Thank you so much, the moderator, for the kind introduction. My name once again is Derek Kakoza, DK, currently the Speaker of the 28th Guild Parliament of Uganda Christian University. But for the youth in Uganda, I speak for you all in the Central Youth Parliament that converges in the National Youth Parliament in the August House of Uganda. And currently, today's topic, I thank my other colleagues that have been on this podium and have spoken about the same, and the message is still the same, that actually everyone looks to be disappointed in the 11th Parliament for what they did, but it won't change with my submission still. But of course I appreciate that to some extent they did something good, but we need to improve as we go into the 12th Parliament. First and foremost, our Parliament of Uganda is established in our constitution, and the establishment Article 77 of the 1995 constitution as amended, and from when you read from 77 to 98 to 99, it gives the core mandates of the legislature of the parliament, that is legislation, representation, oversight, and budget approval. So we should rank and rate the 11th Parliament on those 4 core principles. So we should assess its performance as far as that is concerned. And of course, when you look at history, I'm a student of history, we look at the history of our parliament, of our legislature. It has been a journey of ups and downs. But of course, we can't blame that on how the laws have been enacted, but rather the people that have been in charge of implementing these laws. When you look from the journey that my friend talked about, Mwanji, from the Legico, we go to during the colonial period of time, we have our first constitution after the Moshi and Lancaster conferences in London, where our big brains like Ben Chiwonkas, the Oboti, by then, and they were youth, sat in Manchester and discussed how best can Africans, how best can Ugandans lead themselves. And one of the resolutions they made was that they need a constituent assembly or a general assembly as far as Uganda is concerned to help them in governance. So we need to have a body that can bring brains together so that we have one agenda for the all people as the Queen lives as the head of state of Uganda. So we moved through a journey, the coups and all that, you know, the different changes in government, until we had our 1995 constitution. That is very, very, very good document as far as democracy is concerned. But the question is that from President Museveni, who was one of the first speakers we had, in the NRC, the National Resistance Council, after the Luwelo War, to be our speaker, to now entering into multi-party democracy in 2005, I feel like that's where the issue came in. You know, the moment we entered into multipartism, whereby we had different parties, individuals fighting for cards, fighting for loyalty from the president, away from the movement system, now we went into a chaos of democracy. Scholars like Montesquieu are not mad to say that there must be three arms of government. That is the judiciary, executive, and legislature. They knew that at one point there can be excessives that can come in, but how best can we solve that is by providing checks and balances for those different arms of government. What has happened to our parliament from the 6th and 7th? We had bright brains like Ayume, someone who taught law at Makerere, who had read books. They were big brains, people like James Wakapulo, intelligent people, Norbert Mao, the Minister of Justice now, very, very intelligent persons. But for me, I think the problem came in after the Tojikwatako issue, when now the president moved away from the primary agenda that took him to Luwelo to now looking for both a vote and the numbers. In fact, a debate and a vote. This is where the issue came in. Before entering into democracy or multi-party democracy, when you look at NRA and NRM, they had very, very brilliant brains. Everyone at least can agree with that, with the examples I've given you, the James Wakapulo, the Norbert Maus, the Ayumes of that time. And these people, we had a front bench, you know that bench in parliament, of brilliant minds, very good speakers, researchers. So the president was motivated in a way that NRA or NRM would not just fight for the vote, but they would want also to win the debate. So there was a very big run for the money, for the monies of the opposition, in that NRM then would fight for both the vote and the debate, and they would win both. But what happens now, from 11th now to 12th, we are seeing members of parliament that are voting machines. We are seeing parliament that is described by nays and ayes. We are seeing parliament where the debate has been moved away from the house to now State House, to now Serena Hotel. Caucus has met it at Africana Hotel, meaning that they have moved away from the core principles. And so that's why the problem is, we had speakers like the Secondaries, we had speakers like Kadaga. Of course, they had also shortfalls. But the moment we shifted the debate from the house to now specific areas where individuals meet and agree on one decision and then come to parliament, say nothing, but rather they keep on saying that we've agreed as this kind of party that we shall go with this and that. That means that there's been influence of politics into our legislature, and I can't state that actually that is something that is new. We've seen it over time. But I would like to state that the success of parliament is not measured to how many legislations that they have made, but rather have they done their mandate, their core principles I've talked about, legislation, representation, budget approval, to create public trust of the people. Meaning that if you move away from that, now you've moved away from representing the interests of the people to now individual interests. When you read the judgment of Malema Vidiza and another versus the Attorney General 2017, during the Tojikwatako issue, Remi Kasule was very, very particular on his judgment. He said that as parliament, you must represent the interest of the people. The people, they are the ones that voted for you. I'll talk about the people after here, because the people have also made the situation go worse. I mean, if the people have certain interests in a matter, for example, the sovereignty bill, can we go back to the people, consult them? Because this is not your legislation, it's for the Ugandans. Parliament is not, debate is not a reserve of parliament, it's a reserve of all the people of Uganda, because it represents the 45 million Ugandans that we have in this country, with over 75% youth. Meaning that if we move away from that core mandate, then we are causing issues as far as our legislation is concerned. Secondly, when you assess the 11th Parliament, they had a lot of issues concerning how leaders were conducting themselves. And of course, just like I've told you that they have moved away from winning the debate and the vote to now wanting the vote but not the debate. So Museveni is doing things like this. It's like, look, let the opposition win the debate. Of course, the Senyonyis will come, give good presentations, make documents about Uganda Airlines and all that. He will tell the speaker, look, let's look for numbers. The speaker will tell the chief whip, Amson, can you get me numbers? Meaning that we can spend the entire debate without seeing more than 2 members of parliament from the leading party presenting anything. But at the end of that day, the nays will have it or the ayes will have it in their favor. So there's been a decay in parliament's performance over time. And of course, it's going to be worse in this 12th parliament. I'm not seeing anything different. This can be traced from the manner in which first these members of parliament went to the house. If the president of Uganda Sato was here, I would be talking about radicalization of politics, militarization of politics. We saw the instances around from January to March, how these members of parliament were voted. Some of them were voted through gun. So you expect that person who has just rigged the vote to come and represent your interest in parliament? Never. And I don't expect anything rather than saying nay or aye. And deeper, when you look at the assessment of the 11th parliament, maybe they did something better in legislation. I've told you that they have at least passed 166 bills, including the sovereignty bill, and they sat for 450, they had 450 sittings, and in all those, at least they gave us some legislations, you get, including the Magistrate Court Act Amendment bill. But if we are to assess it to the other core principles of Parliament, because I told you that Parliament is not measured to how many legislations you've made, but rather, have you put the mandate of the people into consideration in everything you've been doing? If you've not done that, you lose public trust, and the moment you lose public trust, that's why every person you talk about Parliament, you talk about money. That's why there was a lot of competition, whereby one from the primaries, people were carrying delegates to different countries. It's very, very expensive. It's worth billions for a position, meaning that Parliament has become so juicy that we no longer encourage business, but rather we'll be like, let me be a member of Parliament, I get that car money for the car, and I do my business. Before passing a legislation, they will call me, give me a tip. Is it called appreciation? You get. We need to have a conversation on how best do we choose our leaders. But if we've chosen our leaders, we should take these leaders, the over 500 leaders, members of parliament, into training, not Chankwans. Can we take them to law school, either Makerere or UCU? We teach them legislation. Can we take them? Should we pray for them or what? Can we have a consensus? Not teaching them patriotism, not putting on green and all that, but they need to have a sense of, because parliament is decaying each and every day. You know, people have lost public trust in parliament, in that even our fellow youth are being caught in the same basket of the bad politics around parliament. And of course, when parliament is bad, it means that it will influence also the judiciary. We've seen that. And if the judiciary is influenced, meaning that head of state is the big dog, whatever he says will pass. As I conclude, I'll state that regardless of the fact that parliament has failed, so what should we expect from the 12th parliament? I pray that the 12th parliament, with the two gentlemen as the heads of the house, should look into beyond corruption, should look into bringing about a conversation of what actually the Ugandans want. We should be ruled, because democracy, that's what is built on democracy, the power of the people. You know, Montesquieu was not mad to say that democracy should be for the people, you know, not actually for an individual, and we are the people. If you see, and you see that the biggest number of people that you're leading are not in line with something you're doing, why do you proceed with that? We had conversations, Youth Lens, the Uganda Law Society had conversations about the sovereignty bill. Bank Association came with a conversation. Bank of Uganda came with a narrative. And then an individual says that, look, whatever you're saying, please cool down. What does that mean? Meaning that now Parliament is for certain individuals, whereas our interests are for our own sake. As I conclude, because of time, I appeal to the new Attorney General of Uganda, Sam Mayanja, and also the former Attorney General of Uganda, that we are in a dilemma. You know, I thank the Uganda Law Society for fronting a debate on liberalization of legal education. I'm in my 4th year now, and I don't know when I'll join LDC. I don't know whether I'll join LDC or I'll start UCU. So Uganda Law Society gave in proposals of how best we can liberalize the legal education. And the bill was drafted. Before discussion, there has been a change in Attorney General. We're not sure, and I don't expect that when the new Attorney General comes in, you'll have more interest in that bill than before. We have our colleagues that are graduating this year, meaning if at all we are to go with this interim or this short-term remedy, they'll be sitting their pre-entries in November. Not so. They'll be joining LDC in January or February. Now me who's graduating in December, I don't know when I'll go to LDC, whether I'm going to LDC or I'm going to study from UCU. So it's a humble appeal to one, no, but more the Minister of Justice. I know you will get this. Please look into that issue. We're in law school studying so hard, but we don't know where we are going. The President of the Uganda Law Society, please, thank you so much for fronting the idea, but let's keep pushing because the discussion stopped long ago and there's been change of individuals in office. My appeal to the Attorney General, former Chilowa Chwanika, please, in one of the files that you're bringing or you're leaving to the new Attorney General, can you bring the files and documents concerning the legal education bill that was drafted at the front for Sam Mayanja so that he has a sober mind and have a conversation about that? And as I conclude, I'll limit you about my dream. I dream of a country, Uganda, where the army will be sent back to the barracks and not influent politics. I dream of a country where urgent applications to court are treated with urgency, not politicized as people that are against their narrative. I dream of a country where we can have limits as far as power is concerned, not individuals attaining small offices and having a lot of power. I dream of a country where everyone and every voice is heard. For God and my country, thank you so much.
DK, the dreamer. Once there used to be a dream 22 years ago by one club that had to wait for 22 years, and eventually the dream was since achieved. DK, thank you so much for your presentation. It was very biting, very, very critical, and you have shared your heart. You don't see so much hope in the 12th Parliament because the 11th Parliament has underperformed in your eyes. But the Bible says, "Ye of little faith." The question is also, do you believe in the Lord? Because our national anthem begins with, "O Uganda, may God uphold thee." It is just to say it is never the end until it ends, because the nation of Uganda is hinged on Christ Jesus and the Lord. We are a country ordained by the Lord, and in here the people that we're analyzing, criticizing are human beings who only came because you've also cited very, very astute speakers and members of parliament that way as the way, and this for me is just a moment that is passing by. What we need to do is keep on pushing, like you've encouraged the president of the Uganda Law Society, and you've encouraged the speaker that is coming in. You've challenged the former speaker to, make the work of the current speaker as easy as is important, because our students that form a core part of the access to legal aid and justice are you, and you want to be certain of your career journey, because LDC is also as important as you are studying law, you are in 4th year, and you don't yet know whether you're going to sit for your final, rather the final lap of your career, especially LDC. We wish you the best in your studies, and we are very delighted. You have lightened up the room after a very, very deep analysis by the 2 students before you. We also chose you to speak last because you are a speaker, right, Honorable Speaker. So thank you so much for identifying with the office. We pray that your journey will be as smooth and as eventful as you have dreamt in front of all of us. We pray that the Lord will bless your dreams. And we are going to use that opportunity to switch and transition to the next topic, which is a very silent struggle affecting very many professionals: eye health. Something very, very important in a world where we are dominated by screens, as you already know, artificial lightning, as you can see, endless paperwork for the lawyers and all those that are doing any other work, digital fatigue, because it is hardly likely that you'll find the gentleman before me off his phone, because right now he's looking at his phone, even while we are in a very critical matter on our tables. And of course, I cannot pick you out because that is the trend. It is what it is. Is that what they say? It is what it is, because we only want to be relevant to the things that speak to you. And right now, your WhatsApp is the most important as we talk. You might be here and some colleague has sent you 50,000 and he has sent you a message and you're not yet sure whether it came. He might not have airtime to call you, and he'll tell you, I've sent the money, please check. So that is important. That's how important it is to check on our eye health. Whether one is a lawyer, a journalist, a banker, a teacher, a driver, or a student, eye health is no option, because we all use the eyes for, as you know, the most important, seeing where you're going and doing everything that you have to do. Now, the modern workplace has fundamentally changed how we use our eyes, and this demands greater awareness, prevention, and routine care. We want to take the opportunity. We have been in partnership, as is the case with the Ugandan Law Society, to partner and work with different service providers and different entities and different professionals. We have had the opportunity to interact with eye care specialists who have found it important, as well as they will come to explain to us, that we go further with this in as far as advocacy and sensitization is concerned. And we, of course, using the opportunity to speak to the members of the public, to the lawyers that are listening out onto us, because you're going to find that we are most likely going to be the victims of these eye care issues, that if we don't address them. So we have with us an accomplished eye care specialist, a public health advocate, and clinical mentor dedicated to advocating to advancing vision health and community-driven healthcare initiatives in Uganda, widely recognized for her hands-on approach to prevention vision care. She is equally committed to shaping the next generation of ophthalmic professionals. Over the past several years, she has been a passionate voice for youth engagement, speaking to students at all academic levels about the critical importance of vision wellness and actively promoting eye care as a viable, rewarding career path. Leveraging on both media platforms and grassroots community initiatives, she continues to champion public health awareness, breaking down barriers to accessibility, and driving the national conversation on eye health across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me the eye specialist, Miss Mary Lynette Muhirwa.
Okay. Won't this affect me since I'm shorter? Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to honor in absentia Mr. Honorable Paul Mwiri, and I would like to observe protocol of the powerful speakers that have come here to speak today. Apparently, I have not carried a big book and pamphlets as my previous speakers, because what I would want to tell you is something that we have had conversations with, and it's from the heart. I want to just give you information. I want to give you experiences of what people are actually getting in the society. So if my conversation is a little bit layman, it's because that is the audience I want to target. Is that okay? All right, so first of all, as we're saying, eye health is very, very, very important. Ideally, I asked a couple of students one time when we went for field, I asked them, if you were to lose your teeth and your eye, what would you prefer? And all of them, ideally, were ready to lose a tooth, but to keep the eye, because in as much as there's a lot of intelligence coming up to put artificial eyes, it has still not yet been proven to be very credible in that sense. And with our country, right now, you know that the technologies start from the upper, and then by the time they reach the country, they're either of the high end expensively or a little bit costly in our normal day-to-day setting with a normal Ugandan. So, as they say, prevention is actually better than cure. I would rather come to you and first give you first-hand information of how to handle your health before we receive your money for medication. I would want to be open about that. So, but my topic today, I'm going to be talking about a very major topic, what we call digital eye strain. It's actually, we call it ideally, it's a computer vision syndrome. Now, with the current generation we're in, that everything has been digitalized. Starting from the point of money, we have now e-cash coming in. Recently, there was a new development of electric buses. And guess what? They were preferring if someone was paying using the e-services. So that's the line we are going to, because that's the new future and the new generation. And now, in as much that this is a good and a very advanced improvement with the technology in our country today, it still has its side effects that it comes with. And without controlled measures, most likely our health statistics will keep reducing if we have not advised you better. And that's why I want to thank the Uganda Law Society. Thank you so much for the opportunity of inviting us to come here and have this conversation. Going back to the conversation of digital eye strain, as I sat here for a few minutes, I noticed everyone has a smartphone. And even if you're not on a smartphone, you're on a PC or you're on a tablet. So it involves not only you, but the people you stay with, your children, your classmates, but also anyone else that you meet out, because you're not only just people in Uganda, but you're also leaders. As I had mentioned, they have come here to advocate for very serious things. I would hope they would also advocate for health in their institutes. So what is digital eye strain? Digital eye strain, as you hear the word digital eye strain, this is a condition whereby due to too much exposure to high voltage lights, the eyes are become very responsive to environmental factors. For example, we have people whereby if you spend a lot of time on phone computer screens, later on effects are you're going to start experiencing pain, itching, tearing. We have what we call muscle spasms, where the eye twitches a little bit. In some cases can be fatigue, but most times in this generation, it's a sign of digital eye strain. Number 4, the last one, it can start to affect your vision, especially near. So why we are coming to say this is that everyone here is actually prone. You're most likely going to experience this if you're not managing it well. With a few signs I have mentioned, the problem with digital eye strain is that later on, it affects your how you respond to the environment. For example, if you're exposed to a lot of ultraviolet lights, that is in sunshine, you're exposed to a lot of blue lights, normally those are in phone computer screens, you're going to start responding to dust, you're going to start responding to wind, any small change in the environment is going to affect your eyes. And that's why we have people who say, my vision is okay, they are just itching. You're neglecting that. That is one of the signs that most likely you're in the earlier stages of digital eye strain, which can easily be controlled. So I just don't want you to take it lightly. Ugandans, we have a poor health-seeking habit, is that by the time you come to the medical facility, honestly, we are just managing a little. And then you're going to go back to the government and the parliament to complain about how they have not helped Ugandans, yet there are small things we can have conversations about. Placing that standard, the foundation of what I've mentioned, I don't want you to take any symptom for the eyes lightly. So at LaPea, we do free eye testing. Anyone that needs a service can walk into any of those shops and access it. Not being here as a spokesman, but it's also to give you an opportunity to address to the community people you're going out to, especially now to our leaders, that as you go out to your community and they tell you, we have an issue with eyes, you're not going to public funding. You have now an organization, an institute here in the country that is willing to offer free eye testing. And then for the other services, we would recommend better. So, as I've mentioned, digital eye strain. How do you identify digital eye strain? I've mentioned a few signs and symptoms, but I'm now going to give you wholesomely in what? Number one, anyone that has gotten sudden pain without any previous trauma most likely has a symptom or sign of digital eye strain. Number two, people who complain of a lot of itching. If you didn't have it previously, to separate it from allergic conjunctivitis, most likely you're in the earlier stages of digital eye strain. Number three, talk about tearing. Consistent tearing even in unrecognizable places, unnoticeable places. For example, if you're not sad because you lost someone, or you're not too happy, some people cry, but it just happens occasionally as you move into the environment, your eyes start tearing. Most likely you're in the first stages of people with digital eye strain. And also, number four, as I mentioned, muscle spasms. If someone keeps saying, my eyes keep twitching consistently, for some it's eye fatigue, but also it can be a symptom for digital eye strain. And then lastly, vision defects. For example, if someone is having now issue with reading, issues with seeing far, for some people it can be genetic, because digital eye strain just triggers genetic refractive errors that are already in your system. For example, if someone had myopia, that is short-sightedness, if exposed to a lot of digital devices, it can just trigger. It's like when you get a lighter and just place it on fuel, it just sparks it out. So notable signs to mention, but all the others. But also another sign that we may neglect is if you're spending a lot of time on phone and computer, it's also a sign to me as a specialist that you're going to experience digital eye strain. So how do we manage digital eye strain? As I have given the information, as you're going to go out to the community, but also you as an individual. Number one, I like to give people behavior changes, because that's the first thing you can do. It starts with you. Before I come and I give you an injection of glasses, if you don't manage your behavior, you don't manage your lifestyle, it will still be in vain if we treat you medically. I told you prevention is better than cure. So I'm going to give you one of the ways of how to manage digital eye strain in the behavior category. Number one, first things first, you need to regulate your screen time. Regulate screen time. How does that look like in a practical aspect? If you're going to spend, since we are speaking to lawyers, I know you're already submitting in reports, writing in, let's say it's many documentations, I didn't know, legislative, something. I'm going to have to go. I've mentioned it a lot, and the shock was No one has written it in Parliament. I'm going to research more about that. You need to give me more information. At a fee. Okay, I'm going to pay for consultation. But it's just saying that you guys are involved with a lot of paperwork, but I know now in the scenario, we're not doing a lot of paperwork. Most of the things have now gone to digital. So most likely you're going to spend a lot of time typing, researching as a person, reading, you're internalizing a lot of things, but you don't realize it's at the risk of your health. You need to be very careful. Regulate your screen time. I'm going to give you a practical aspect. If you know you're going to be on screen for close to 8 hours straight, which is ideally, you need to have breaks after every 2 hours. I tell people that when you're at work, after 2 hours, it's time you go check out someone, you go tap someone, disturb someone, check, call, make a call, leave that environment because it helps your eyes relax after that exposure of that light. And then, number 2 is your sleep time. In as much as this country is very busy and so many things are happening on, especially now in the sector you guys are in, yes, you can be very negligent with your sleep time. You have problems of the world is suffering, how can I sleep? Or I have a client, there are court cases tomorrow and we have not yet triggered, we have not yet gotten that one point we need, and you're neglecting your health. The issue is that it's going to become very costly for you at the end, in as much as you want to help a citizen. It starts with you. So your sleep time is very important. I don't want to say by this time be in bed and this time wake up, because we are very different individuals and how we manage our time. But I would recommend at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep as a person. So anytime you are in bed, you calculate from that time 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Number 3, not neglecting, is diet. It's very important. As you are law advocates, you can it's very important that you as a person get to find out what things are good for your body. I don't want to be like some doctors of our ages where they will tell you, eat eggs, eat, no. We are in a digital era where just one search away from your phone, you can find out what vitamin A foods, what foods are good for your eyes. Many people have made research about it. I'm just going to re-echo on the information based on the internet. It's very good that diet, what you see, it was in computer, but garbage in, garbage out. If you input in garbage, you're most likely going to release what? Garbage. So what you eat is very important because your body receives the nutrients of what you've taken. Just a few to mention, you need to hydrate a lot. You need to take a lot of foods with vitamin A, omega-3 fatty acids, but to mention others. Don't be limited. I don't want you to say they said eat only beans. No. There are quite so many foods that you can engage in. So now shifting away from the behavioral aspects, I would like to talk more onto now medical aspects. The first medical management is you need to seek for help the moment you notice something is wrong. As I've mentioned, the 5 signs, even when you get to know a slight change in your sight, I tell people, if you realize you're getting constant headaches that you didn't have and you don't have any other medical underlying conditions, that's a time for you to go do a checkup. But also, it's very important that as a person, we call what we call protective wear, like what I'm wearing. Personally, I don't have a refraction problem. In quotes, the ones I'm wearing don't have lenses. But I'm wearing them for protection aspects because my work involves a lot of digital. Like when a client walks in, I'm putting them into the system until they move out. And that's the system that we are trying to promote. But because I don't want to be negligent, as I'd mentioned previously. So if you know that you're going to spend, ideally, close to 7 to 8 hours on screens, computers, I would highly recommend to get yourself a pair of protection glasses. They would help so much filter excess light that is entering your eyes as you're doing the other behavioral management. And lucky for you, here at La Pair, we offer those services. You can walk in and get yourself a pair of glasses as low as 105,000. Isn't that good? A good price, average price for Ugandans? Yes, you get a frame, you get a lens, but it would help at least navigate with the issue of digital eye strain. That is a major medical condition coming up due to the era we are in now. And not forgetting, there are certain measurements that we are doing, which we recommend even when we have the glasses on. For example, if you're going to be on screen, I would recommend at least the screen is 50 centimeters away from you. If anyone is using their screen, wear this close. Most likely they should come. They have a refraction problem we need to solve. The earlier, the better. It's actually one way of detecting that someone actually has a problem. So 50 centimeters, because at least it helps regulate that radiation. By the time it reaches the eye, it's not as impactful as it would have been if it is closer. All to say, maybe in the Q&A, we'll answer more questions, is just say that your eye health is very important. And you are not only eye patients, you are also you are also eye advocates in the communities you're going to. So spread the good news to the rest. Thank you so much. My name has been Lynette Mahira.
Another round of applause for that very important discussion. She says she's not a speaker for La Pair, but she has left some information for you to take in. And this conversation was mixed up with both information as well as marketing the organization, but we are not going to charge her because it is to the benefit of the members and the public. So we are actually using this as a platform to ensure that our mandate is implemented to the fullest. She asked a question of what I would choose between my teeth and my eyes. I would definitely lose my teeth because I need to use my eyes to see my beautiful wife, and that's what I use to see my wife. That's what, yeah. I wouldn't see her if I didn't have eyes, and I would use it to see the Arsenal trophy. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving very critically right with that information. Would like to, because I believe we have stretched you a little, would like to get a breather for 1 minute. That is going to come from one individual from the building. We're joined by students, so we need to have that energy revived because the next topic is very bombastic. Just organize yourselves, prepare your minds, because we have a very loaded guest speaker in the building, and we just want us to loosen up a little, because remember, we've been told, don't over-concentrate on something. Get some 2 minutes and think again. Get 1 minute and think again. So Gerald, kindly approach and give us a breather, then we can get into the final topic, and that we are going to do as we take a picture of the members who have been invited as distinguished guests over here. We shall invite you kindly, because it's tradition for posterity. You're kindly requested to come across here. We take a picture as we get up and take a breather. Thank you. And the cameraman, Mr. Adam or Miss Stella, kindly approach and take a picture of the guest speakers. As the members stretch a little, kindly get onto your feet. Gerald will give us a little bit of a breather, and we can get back into business. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Semugabi Gerald. I am the president of the Rule of Law Club Makerere. I have been given an impossible task to create a breather for everyone, something for everyone to do.
supposed to say cheese? No. No, yes. Okay, you're wrong. Okay, Gerald, take us back as we prepare for the last aspect of our discussion.
Okay. We're going to play a game. And since most of us here are in the legal profession, it's going to be a constitutional game. So I hope I have everyone's attention. We're going to play a game, and I'm going to begin with the panelists. So this game is going to require us to think on our feet. I'm going to mention an article of the Constitution, and I'm going to draft a story from that. Okay? Are we listening? So I'm going to begin with my public relations officer. Article 1. This is going to be a constitutional game. Improv speaking. I'll mention a random article, and then you will make a very short story out of it. 2 lines. 2 to 3 lines.
Oh, I think, did you hear me? Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'm now going to choose someone from the audience. Someone who's trying to not look at me. I'm going to choose the gentleman at the front. Article 21. Yeah, you can come here.
So, Article 21 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, it talks about equality, like all people are equal, but we have seen in most cases where equality is not shown, like it's not exercised in the country. Thank you.
Yeah, the famous line from George Orwell, all animals are equal, but it seems like some animals are more equal than others. Okay, I think I have stretched everyone's minds a bit. I beg to hand over control back to the ULS.
Okay, thank you. That was supposed to be a brain teaser, but this guy again has come to stress us. We didn't expect that. It was supposed to be a stretch, and sir, thank you so much, but next time, please stick to the instructions. You have made your own exam paper, and now you have disturbed my audience. My audience, we are very sorry. We would like to request that you forgive us, but that was also supposed to be a brainer for us to know and realize that it's important, as he did really, to trigger our minds as far as the Constitution is concerned, because that is also a very important aspect of our lives, because all that we're discussing here are provided for in the Constitution. So, Gerald, thank you so much. He is the new president of the Rule of Law Club, School of Law, Makerere, and that is the reason why we had him come around. And as we had said before, this is a moment that we interact with as many students as we can, and this is important. Now, we have moved from institutions and governance, we have gone to eye health care, and now we are moving to something which is far more personal, which is the human condition itself. Very slowly and critically, the strongest of professionals, you realize, leaders, lawyers, journalists, policymakers, are still human beings, navigating emotional realities, social pressures, loneliness, burnout, and mental exhaustion. Specifically, we are going to be a little selfish, but it will also come generally. We want to focus on men's mental health and surviving in toxic work environments, because modern society, if you've realized, has now created a paradox that is very much intermixed with different aspects of life, and the fact that we are digitally connected than ever before, there are very many people who still feel emotionally isolated. We have had very many conversations before this. The Uganda Law Society is in partnership with different organizations dealing with wellness and about mental health, yet we still have scenarios where men are suffering. We celebrate productivity and we're always up and down, like we have been told to sleep for between 6 and 8 hours. I don't know if there's been any people who have interacted with the president of the Uganda Law Society. His calls come at 2 a.m. I don't know, and we're supposed to communicate because yes, there's a lot to discuss. One of the days I was told by him, rebels don't sleep. And he's a legal rebel, and the vice president the same. So we wonder if this talk was relevant to them, or can they, look into it. And so today's conversation is not merely social commentary, it is really a public health and societal stability discussion, which is supposed to help us understand what modern day relationships appear like, why they are increasingly fragile, why you find a lawyer in a very expensive Mercedes-Benz with a very exclusive suit, doing things that are unexpected, like say committing suicide, breaking down when it's not least expected, and he has no answers. You expect that he's doing so well on the face of it, it looks that way, and yet deep down there's so many other underlying factors. We want to understand why men still find it difficult to openly discuss mental health struggles, why the dangerous culture of manning up, as you've heard, please man up, and man up regardless of what you're going through. If the date has come, I can't man up beyond the deadline. So how can I man up? Instead, I can talk to a friend and tell him, I am caught up. Are you able to support me so that I can clear this debt and manage with you later? But because you don't want to fall, you still believe you can dodge the money lender, you cannot pick up your calls. So today we want to tweak the conversation beyond just making money, listening to these conversations, and speaking into aspects of constitutionalism as well as matters to do with eye health care. We are going to be helping ourselves understand this topic because it's very critical, and indeed it cannot come any earlier than today. And before us we have a very, very loaded individual who is going to be speaking to us, who boasts with a degree of psychology from the University of California, a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology from UCU. He has worked variously with organizations like Zain, where he was a data entrant, an IT support and networks operation control with Worried Tel, systems and software analyst with Ministry of Energy, mapping, monitoring and surveying using drone technology, hub management and logistics with Jumia. He has also worked at Radio City as a presenter. He is also a media personality with Ambitious Africa, but also he is a mental health expert in therapy practice. He has done counseling talk. He has done motivational talk. He has done mental health and therapy sessions. He has done mental health talk. He has done marriage and finance talk. He has done psychology, teenager talk, mental health and therapy. There is a lot that he has done, and on online spaces he has also been present with a company called Serene Mind, or an organization rather called Serene Mind, and currently he is the chief of operations at Serene Mind. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Dr. Iga David Ronnie.
Thank you so much, Council Paul. That was heavy and beautiful. I want to thank the speakers that I've been together with. You've presented Parliament very well, and I think I know 3/4 of parliamentary jargon right now. I also want to appreciate in absentia of Honorable Paul Miru, also gave a wonderful speech. I'm here to talk about mental health, but also giving specifics to men's mental health. So much of men's mental health has been neglected because they believe we should man up, we are strong, we are the stronger sex, we are the guys that hold everything together. But even the guys that hold everything together sometimes need support. And if I'm to take you back to the spiritual time, there's a reason why they created the man first and created the woman second, because the man needed support. And so many times we forget that men need support. The topic today was relationships in the modern time. There are so many factors today that have created and evolved the relationships of a modern time. But I want to talk about 3 factors. Social media. Social media, something they call the reality of logic, which is mindset. What you put in your mind and how you set your mind. And the other is just barely ignorance. If I could ask people here by show of hands, anybody who has studied or tried to equip themselves with knowledge on relationships? Clearly, we have a few hands. That is one of the spheres that most people just dive into and, navigate, enter the plane, try to figure out which button pushes the plane forward, and you move. But then we have legal officers here, counsel, we have mental health experts, but nobody really sits down to say, what are relationships? What do I need to have a good relationship? What is a good relationship? What is the epitome of being happy emotionally, psychologically, and mentally? But because of the modern times, we have something called social media. Social media has created an analogy that people associate mostly to proof than potential. People want you to prove who you are. People want you to prove that you are a man. People want you to prove that you're in a relationship. People want you to prove that you're rich. People want you to prove that you did not steal. But nobody is paying mind to potential. What is your potential as a man? What is your potential as a lady? What is your potential as a counsel? What is your potential in the mental health sphere? What that means is, what are your capabilities? What are you willing to do? What can you do with ease? And what is hard to do? And when I talk about some of these things, they are in the realm of self-awareness. There's a very interesting, should I say, test. It's called the self-awareness test. Basically, what the self-awareness test does is, you get to know who you are. Who is Dr. Ronnie? What is he good at? What makes him smile? What doesn't he like? What triggers him?
What are his difficult times? This test, when you do it excessively and excellently, you understand who you are. For example, I'll give an example myself. Years before, I got to understand that I'm a short-tempered guy. So, because of that, I started understanding what does it mean to be short-tempered. What happens when my temper goes off the rail? What do I need to do to keep myself in a positive temper? So those are some of the advantages of doing a self-awareness test. You understand your limitations, you understand your negatives. What that does is, because you understand your negatives, you know not to push yourself to the negative side. But so many people are walking blindly, and when someone says, "Who are you?" say, "Well, I'm me." You can't even explain who you are. You can't even give a clear, confident analysis of what you are. And that today has caused a problem, because we move ignorantly. People are pushed into situations that they can't manage, but because they don't know that they can't manage those situations. Not everybody is good at relationships. But if you knew you're not good at relationships, what do? You do a study. You get a mentor. You talk about them more. You find friends and you create these honest conversations about relationships. And that is what puts you aside. That is what puts you in front. I will talk about what I call the reality of logic. Basically, it is the mindset. What kind of mindset do you have today? I'll give you an example. If you have a fail mindset, you will even fail to match clothes to look smart. Because the mindset you have is, I'm a failure. I've failed so many times, I don't think I can overcome this. What that does, it creates a pattern of failure in your membrane, such that everything you touch, every activity you go to, you have a connotation that you might fail. But that's not because you are incapable, or because you're not studied, or because you're unfortunate. It is because you have a negative mindset. So what we do, we change your mindset. And how do you start with your mindset? You start with the things that you love. What are the things that you love? I love sports. I love driving my car. I love my wife. I love my family. I love my kids. Now, because of the things I love, I know why I work. I don't work to look good. I work hard to take care of my family. I work hard to make sure my wife looks good. I work hard so that my kids can go to a better school. But that's because of my mindset. Okay? Where's my purpose? My purpose is in my family. My purpose is in my work. You can't find me trying to understand what litigation is, because that's not my purpose. I would care to try to find out, but that's not my purpose. And because that's not my purpose, it helps me separate the things I am supposed to do with the things I am not supposed to do. Because what actually happens, the very many things that we don't manage, is because we don't pay too much attention to manage them. I'll give you an example. My dad was an engineer. I don't have a big, bad, negative connotation to engineering, but it's not my passion. I don't like it. It's not something that I would wake up to do. So if you found me in an engineering class, clearly I would be misplaced, right? And that is what is happening today. First of all, people don't even know what their purpose is. You don't know why you are at that age and where you are. Now, because you don't know what your purpose is, anything goes. I'll take an example of a relationship. For the guys, if you don't know what kind of woman you would love to marry, you're definitely going to marry the wrong woman. You're definitely going to marry the wrong woman. I'll give you another example. In the workplace, if you don't know what kind of relationships you need in the workplace, you're definitely going to have a hard time at the workplace. I'll give you an example. If you know you have a manager, and every time you bypass him, you don't greet him, don't you think that's a bad working relationship? Definitely. Because he might think you don't appreciate him, you don't like him, or you have something negative about him, but you're just going about minding your own business. Now that's a poor working relationship. But if you have a good working relationship, you know, I have a manager. I mean, this guy, even if he walks in early, I think I should first go greet him before I put my books, my stuff on the desk, because it gives him positive oxytocin. Oh, this guy comes, greets me every morning. Maybe sometimes he has had a bad morning, and you're checking up on him. You're greeting him. You're getting to find out how he slept, what he's doing. He will always have you at the positive side of his mind. What that means is, in case they're talking about firing you, he's likely to step in and say, let's give this guy another chance. You know, I think he has been hard up. I think he has good character. I think he studied well. He's just facing a rough time. But you imagine this guy, you've been working with him for 3 years, and you don't even know that he's hired, but you have his name on record. And then they're talking about fire him. You say, well, I think let's get rid of this guy. So you're not even having him on first name basis, but you're saying, let's get rid of this guy. But if this is the guy who greets you very early in the morning, who knows what kind of coffee you take, who finds out what activities you are most likely to struggle with, and he helps you, this is a guy you have at your positive side. So many times we are struggling with upper management, lower management in work. But what that screams is poor working relationships. As simple as understanding how your partner is doing. As simple as understanding, are they okay? So many times you say, hey man, what's up? And the guy says, oh, I'm good. But then you ask, are you really good? Did you sleep well? Did you eat? How did you come? Do you have transport back? You know, that is an extra effort. Now that's a relationship. What that signals to the brain is this guy cares about me. He might not love me, but he cares about me. And everybody needs care. Fathers need care. Husbands need care. Women need care. Wives need care. But because of the absence of care, what actually happens is they are very baseless relationships. You're saying hi because you have to say hi, not because you want to find out how someone is doing. And these are things that can easily be told. Because in 3 weeks, if you're saying hi the same way, okay, that is fake. There should be an increase in tone. There should be a low in tone. There should be an excited high on one of the days. There should be a low high, where even when you're saying hi to me, I'll be like, hey, today you seem to be down. What's going on? Now, those are positive relationships. So much of the dirty that goes around at the workplace is because people don't have relationships. We don't know people on first name basis. We don't know whether people are married, dating, or even struggling with anything. What that means is I come to work to do what I'm supposed to do, and if someone is struggling, they're on their own. But we all know the other name for work is teamwork. Teamwork means you work together. If the manager is not okay, it means you guys are most likely not going to execute so much. That means you can pause work and take good care of the manager, because someday the manager is going to take good care of you. And that is the epitome of very good relationships. So someone would ask, what is a relationship? A relationship is how you treat people, period. Whether it is your wife, whether it is your girlfriend, whether it is your working partner, whether it is the guy that got you the job, okay? Whether it is the person funding your organization, it is just how you treat people. So how do people want to be treated? People want to be treated with kindness. People want to be treated with love, okay? People want to be treated with a certain state of respect. So many men are dying inside because they are not respected, either by their wives, girlfriends, fathers, parents, or even workmates. But why aren't people respecting you? It's because you don't have a stature. People don't know who you are. So many times when people know who you are, you don't need to say your name. People know, that's the mental health guy, because they know who I am. Not because they have dived so deep into to know who I am, but because I speak it, I eat it, I dream it, I walk it, and I look like it. So it is not very hard for people to understand. What I'm also coming to is, sometimes as men, we are making it very difficult for people around us to understand us. Every time you're in a suit and you look sharp, I'll definitely think you're also sharp emotionally, psychologically, and mentally. But sometimes that's not the case. It doesn't have to have 2-3 people who you come and say, today was rough, you guy. My car broke down, I had to take a border. It's the first time in 3 years that I'm taking a border, and there was splashed water on my... So I'm not in the right headspace. And this guy will say, you know what? Let me go before you. Let me go clear the waters as you get yourself together. And that's what men need today. So much so as, can I get some help? But also in the modern times is, how may I help you? You shouldn't wait for a man to come and say, look, I had a terrible morning. You can just tell by the way he moves and by the way he carries himself. And you say, man, are you okay? Can I help? Just that is enough. Because if the can I help becomes more, he'll say it out of anguish. You bug me a lot. But anyway, I'm going through a tough time in my relationship. Key point, I'm going through a tough time in my, not you're bugging me. That's a side kick. The real kick is I'm going through a tough time in my relationship. What does that scream out? Reach out, care, be with me, give me companionship, find out more. And so many times the men are struggling because of this. Men are told to man up. It's okay to man up because it looks good when the men man up. But you need one or two friends that need to know that, yeah, Dr. Ron is manning up, but he's having a hard time. Okay? And just sometimes that only is the magic. Just sitting here and knowing people respect me, people care about me, people love me, can get me through the day. But standing here and knowing people are not listening to me, they don't understand who I am, some people are confused about what I'm talking about, can drain. And sometimes that's what men today are facing. In their relationships, at the workplace. I'll give you an example. How many guys here have 3 guys who know 3 of their deepest secrets? Just here. We even have a lady. Yeah. How many guys? 3 guys who know 3 of your deepest secrets. It may not be a guy, it may be a woman, but how many? I think you can see the hands, which means the analogy is we are closed off. But it doesn't hurt to have one guy. It doesn't hurt to have one lady. So much, the World Health Organization has talked about men above their 30s. They need relationships. But the kind of relationships they're talking about are boy-girl relationships. Because what a woman does is he softens up a man. The problem with that, yes, the problem with that is the man needs to know how to pick that particular woman who can soften him up. Not every woman can soften me up, but my wife can. Right? Not because she's superwoman, no, but because she understands me and because I have let her to understand me. She knows when I'm in a bad mood. She knows when I don't want to work. She knows when I just want to sit around and drive my car. And you would find a man who is struggling to try to drive his car alone, and the wife is saying, "Where are you going? Let me come." Because she doesn't understand that this man wants to spend time alone. Not because he's suffering, but because he's mentally processing something. Either the rent, either the child's fees, either a fight they had 2-3 days ago. But because that lack of connectivity is not there, it creates a problem for the modern man. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the modern woman. So many men are struggling because they don't understand the modern woman. And who is the modern woman? The modern woman is the person who has a job, who is paid more than you if you're in a relationship, who probably has a business that is thriving and you're struggling in your employment. That's the modern woman. Right? Who probably can buy you KFC 7 days a week without flinching, and you can't even get a rose flower. Right? Now that's the modern woman. She's educated, she's confident, she knows what she wants. She has been empowered since she was young, and she's dealing with a man who's not confident. She's dealing with a man who is probably not employed. He's dealing with a man who's probably struggling with their business. He's dealing with a man who doesn't feel respected. So what does that call for the modern man? Understand the modern woman. Who is she? What kind of clothes does she wear? What kind of mentality does she have? There are some women who have been raised not to give men help. And that's just how they have been raised. But you see, what raising means, it is conditioning. Because if this woman loves you or appreciates you or respects you, she'll say, "How can I treat you?" And that is your get pass to open up. Because when you open up and she knows how to treat you, she'll know, well, all these other guys I boss around, but when it comes to Robert, I'm a little bit subtle. And maybe that's the thing that you need that's going to get you that idea, that's going to help you make better relationships. Aside from that, I would like to say, all the men here are capable. We just need to switch our mindset. Sometimes things seem hard, and they make us believe that they are hard, but nothing is hard. When two or more men are gathered together, when they have mentorship programs, when they have people they aspire to. Guys, you have someone you aspire to, get the guy's number, take the guy out, sit next to the guy, start up a conversation. Hey, how did you do this? How comes you wear so sharp and then I feel like I have better clothes than you? That's a conversation that you need as a man, from a fellow man. Because so many times you think the world is difficult, and there are men who have championed this world. So let's start this conversation. Mental health is so much about relationships because it involves emotion. And you can't have relationships without emotion. It involves communication. You can't have communication. You can't have friendship without communication. It also involves what they call the mindset. If you think you have no friends, there's nobody who is going to come close to you, because what the body does, it creates an aura of no friendship. But if you believe you are a man of the people, people will be drawn to you. Not because you're really good at dabbing the suit, but because that's the aura that you exude. So ladies and gentlemen, that's my presentation today. I hope it was wonderful. Thank you.
I don't know where to start. The woman is supposed to soften the man. Isn't that important? But this could never have been timely, especially in the modern day era of this, where we're working, but also, as you've said, it's really open to even away from work. You don't have to be at work to have relationships. You have done this a very, very big service. I actually listened into your conversation on Sanyu FM last week on Wednesday while I was driving to work with DJ Rudende, and that caught my mind. But also it happened to be the same situation with my superior, Afra, who also listened in, and that, by the grace of God, happened to be the time that we were planning for this session, hence our approach to you. But also that shows how important the conversation was then, and it has even been better because we are seeing you in person. We aspire to have relationships that you are either guiding, building, or having. And with what you have said, it goes just beyond relationships. Mental health is actually about relationships, on how you treat people. We are picking notes from you, and you have also spoken into the social media aspect, the reality of life, and we are also cognizant of the fact that majority of us are actually on social media, and it is where relationships are either built or broken. You have done something on social media and you're either getting flowers or you're being bashed. And the fact that you have also spoken about the expectations of men. And yesterday, my car broke down. Very interestingly, the first person I called was my wife. Wow, I called her and I explained to her, and she sent me some kamane. Yeah, she sent me some kamane. I was able to jump on a bike. Okay, I was able to jump on a bike. So there wasn't any fuss about 3 years never running on a bike, like you said. The expectations need to be lowered, because you are a human being, regardless of your status, either as a man or a head of department or chief of operations or PRO or speaker or president. It doesn't matter. You remain a human being that has relationships. But one thing you've triggered our mind with, very importantly, is the mindset. That, for me, is my take home. It is from there that you have a foundation to everything else. And another aspect is appreciating your purpose. Identify your purpose, and then the rest will flow. You asked a question here that very many of us did not raise our hands, whether we have 3 friends who know 3 deep secrets of ours, and very few, not none, very few. There's a pretty lady behind there who raised her hand very, 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 very happily. That, of course, speaks a lot into your relationships with people, but that is a challenge to all of us. If an expert of this stature can ask us such a question and we don't pass that question, then it means there's something we're supposed to be doing. There's something not right, because this is experience, this is expertise. This is a trained individual giving us information. So we are requested to do better in that regard. Aspects of relationships at work, greeting people, very small thing. You can't imagine how much he has broken the word hi. Just hi has been broken down to mean you can be fired or you can get promoted. How you ask the hi, how far hi goes, you know. We always do this. We have these relationships. Is it hi, just hi, how are you, good morning? No. How are your children? Okay. How is home? How is the dust of Nigeria? Eh? How is the dust of Nigeria? And that can trigger a boss's conversation away from work. It's like, no, at least they've put some tarmac on the half of the road, so I normally pass on the other side. You see, that is supposed to build a relationship with your boss, so that in case there is an opportunity to leave the country for a training and there is per diem, you will be on the list number one, as opposed to a guy or a lady who just greets hi and walks away. Are we together? This is very important, and we're so honored to have this conversation. It comes in so timely because the 12th Parliament has come into play. There's going to be so many things. There are people who are sharing a lot of grief about the Parliament, and yet we should be positive. The aspect of having somebody on your positive side of the mind, very important, okay? This especially goes to the students who are here, because you're still hyper. You're still dealing with so many issues. Retakes, courseworks, transport, border, going out. Is takeout still there? There used to be a place in Wandegea, Stakeout, or any other places that you might not know. Those different aspects of your hyper life. Relationships determine how you live that place. Identifying your purpose, going beyond greeting, and very importantly, understanding the modern day woman, because women are the backbone of any person's life. From your mother to your sister to your boss at work, if she's a lady, that is one of the most important things that we are going to pick from today. The modern day woman has been empowered. Whereas the men might have had one or two challenges, it has been emancipation of the women from, I think, the time we can remember, as the current government has been doing. Then the doctor is asking, what about the men? That is why, and also when we did a poll, doctor, for you to be notified, when we did a poll on what we wanted addressed in this session today, it was broad relationships, but the men asked that mental health of men in a toxic environment came out to the fore. That's why we skewed the discussion towards the men. Have the men been forgotten? Is it yes? Is it no? If it's no, why are they always fragile? Why do they not say anything about their lives? And yet, when you open up, a man has a pamphlet of challenges, problems, of course the normal problems, but sometimes they are going to be solved if you speak out. They say a problem shared is half solved. So yes, we want to thank you so much, and you've asked us to believe that we are men of people. I don't know what you guys think about me. I don't want the answer now. I don't know if I'm amiable. Please come to my inbox. Don't out me in public. But the point is in, how do you imagine yourself in other people's faces? Have you realized that you are short-tempered? Because today, I can give you an example. The schedule for presentation was that doctor came in the middle after topic number 1. Okay? But because we had to manage with with Lynette, she came aside and requested that she be given the opportunity because she has some work to do. We didn't plan that. Imagine if doctor were short-tempered. Wouldn't he have walked out? you know, but he has managed to know that, one, he's short-tempered. So how do you manage your temper? Ladies and gentlemen, those are triggering questions for you, and we would like to use that opportunity to remind you that we are here to ensure you get information as much as possible, sensitization and awareness of the things that matter in life beyond the legislation, beyond the constitutional vibe that we have, but also especially in regard to aspects that help to bring you back to normal in as far as living life is concerned. We have a very special guest with us here who is going to give us just a word on what it has been like as far as his health is concerned, and his testimony in his mindset change about getting to know his predicament and how it helped him to reason beyond the vulnerability of being a patient or having a health challenge, and what it has meant to him to speak out to the people and also make a difference in life, because each of us here is making a difference in life, and that is your purpose. Apart from the many different things that you're doing, relationships mean dealing with people and making their lives better. So with us, we have an individual who has studied political science at MOOC, a diploma in journalism, and a postgraduate diploma in management studies, both at UMI. He has worked with broadcast media, corporate communications, diplomatic service, United Nations, tourism administration, and consumer protection. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Mr. John Bijemano to just give us a talk about his experience as far as health is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I had expected a slightly larger audience made up of some people that might be closer to my age. And so when I'm not very sure where to start, sometimes I feel it's better to start by telling my story. What Randy didn't tell you is that I'm turning 70 next month. I'm a husband to one woman. I'm a father and a proud grandfather. I'm also a Rotarian. And I support Uganda Cranes. No, I don't even know how it is spelled. So, almost 10 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. The medicine nearly destroyed my kidneys. And it took 2 years for my kidneys to heal. Very costly treatments. And as my kidneys were healing, I got blood clots. Now, I said I'm turning 70. I left university when I was 26. And from when I left university, like for the next 30 years, I was like a fitness freak. I never missed the marathons. I never missed the gym. I never missed all those things. But I got up one day and I was told I had blood clots. From being a health freak, from being a fitness freak, to absolutely being unable to climb from our living room to our bedroom upstairs. That's how bad it was. Now, when I developed blood clots, my treatment had to stop because I was told that the medicine for the blood clots that I needed to be on for not less than 3 years, and the medicine for prostate cancer that I also needed to take every day for an indefinite period could not enter my body at the same time. And so I was caught between the proverbial rock and a hard place, because if I chose to treat the prostate, the blood clots would take me out. And if I chose to treat the blood clots, the prostate cancer would take me out. And so the journalist in me went into a very steep learning curve about the human body and why it does the things it does and why diseases do the things they do to the human body. And my research led me to an extraordinary concept in healthcare known as regenerative medicine. Now, regenerative medicine comes from China, and that can be a good thing, or it may not be such a good thing, depending on how you feel about the country of China as an individual. But regenerative medicine was actually introduced into the United States by President Barack Obama in 2013. For those of you, if you go back and look at the State of the Nation address, you will hear him mention something about the need to mainstream regenerative medicine. And he had heard that the Chinese had medicine that could treat age-related mental disorders, including the ones that we know the most, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's. But their medicine could also cure stress-related disorders that even young people like yourselves can suffer from. But the US had a policy of not importing medicine from China. And so what Barack Obama did was to invite the scientists from China and pair them up with the Food and Drugs Administration of the USA, so that the medicine could be manufactured in the USA under FDA licensing in compliance with US laws. You all know that the President of the United States cannot change US laws. So the scientists came, the medicine was manufactured there. A substantial part of the medicines are still manufactured in the US. From the US, the medicine reached South Africa through the movement of people. And from South Africa, it came to Uganda, and it found me, and it healed me. Three weeks ago, I was at the Uganda Cancer Institute, which I normally do every 3 months ever since I started treatment with regenerative medicine. And I was told that my kidneys were in great shape. I was told that I had no blood clots. And I was told that my PSA, which is the prostate-specific antigen, it's a protein that is found in your prostate gland. And for now, it's the only way you can measure the health or lack of it of the prostate gland, and therefore the prostate health of a man. And I was told once again that my PSA is normal. But while I was undergoing treatment, I found that different versions and combos of regenerative medicine were being used to help in the prevention, in the management, and the complete healing of a wide range of non-communicable diseases. Those diseases that have defied conventional medicine for more than 100, probably 150 years. Now, when we talk about non-communicable diseases, the vast majority of you are youngsters, and you are thinking, non-communicable diseases, that's not my thing. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you need to pay attention, not only because I want you to be my ambassadors to the people in your lives. You all look like people who have a father who would be my age, a mother, an auntie, an uncle, a friend's father, and people like those. And here is what I learned about the human body and what causes non-communicable diseases. 100%. Communicable diseases are caused by two important factors. The first one is called stress. Now, for those of you who are already born during the lockdown, you learned that stress was as much a killer as some of the diseases that we have always been worried about. We were locked inside the house for 1 year, and as we were getting out, the main man said, no, I'm going to lock you up again for another year. And some of us were locked up with people that we would normally not want to stay with for more than a few days. And now we had to stay with them for the year and for the second year. And many people lost their lives because of stress. The second factor is toxic overload. Now, when we talk toxic overload, immediately people think, okay, the person was given poison. Yes, that's an aspect of toxic overload, but I'm talking about toxic overload that we actually get from our environment, but that's also part of our lifestyle. We get toxic overload from foods that are sprayed with herbicides and pesticides. No serious farmer now can take food to the market without spraying. We get toxicity from chlorinated water. If you knew the things that industries and other institutions pour into Lake Victoria, you would probably not drink the water. But National Water pumps this water, treats it with chlorine, and still tells you, don't drink it without boiling it. We get toxicity from the motor vehicle fumes and the factories that surround us. We get toxicity from the packaged and processed foods that we buy from supermarkets. Foods that stay on the shelves and are edible for up to 7, 8, 9 months. And yet for the women in the house, if you go into the garden and pick a vegetable and put it on the kitchen sink, in 30 minutes it will start wilting, and if it stays there overnight, it will start rotting. But these foods stay on the shelves for 5, 6, 7 months. And somehow we never think of what preserves this food and keeps it edible for many months. For the business person, the preservative is a very, very good thing because it enables him or her to sell their entire stock. But for us who consume these foods, the preservative is not good news. And our children love these foods. And so when you are going for V-Day, your children will say, Daddy or Mommy, bring me this, bring me this, bring me gorillas, bring me all this stuff. And the foods are addictive. They taste very good. Even we, as the parents and even the grandparents, we eat these foods. And these foods are now becoming known for creating hormonal imbalances in our children at a very young age. They are responsible for our little girls beginning to grow breasts at age 8 and getting into their first menstrual cycle at age 9. For the people of my mother's age, and probably even your mother's age, the breasts came at age 14, 15, 16. And the first menstrual cycle came at 17, sometimes at 18. But now it comes at 9, it comes at 10. And if they look big, then they say, Ronnie takes very good care of his children. But it's really not a positive way of taking good care of children, because these children will grow with these imbalances, and because the imbalances are not painful, so you never hear a girl saying, Daddy, I have pain here because of hormonal imbalances. Very rarely, except for menstrual disorders, which I'm going to talk about. But they grow with these imbalances, they finish university, they get their degree, they get their kamane, and now they are no longer sending a list to mommy or daddy. Now they are calling the border guy, please deliver these things to my apartment. I'm putting mobile money on your phone, and they can eat these foods in the quantities that they want as frequently as they want. And it will come to time for starting a family, and the wedding will be beautiful, but 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, there will be no child in the marriage. And we, the parents, will think, oh, maybe Rita has a problem. So we'll call 5 doctors to check Rita, and the 5 doctors will say, Rita has no problem. And then we'll think, maybe it's Ronnie who has a problem. And another 5 doctors will check Ronnie, and they will say, no, Ronnie is okay, he has no problem. Put the 2 together, no conception. Now, the response of conventional medicine is, hey, come on, guys. You need a baby, bring 30 million shillings. We'll take you to Dr. So-and-so for IVF or IUI. But guys, you probably all know that IVF is a sacrifice on the part of the woman because of the medicines that must be injected in her body to persuade this body to hold this fetus for 7 months. Ever wondered why most IVF babies come out at month number 7? There are 2 reasons. First one is that at month 7, the baby is fully developed, and there are many, many people, probably some of your fellow lawyers, who were delivered at month number 7, right? But secondly, no responsible physician would want this mother to endure an additional 2 months of these injections, knowing very well that the medicines being injected into her body have side effects that could include cancer and other deadly side effects. And so we take the baby out in the 7th month, and we spare the mother the additional 2 months. Another source of toxicity is medicines, pharmaceutical products, which we either use or abuse. You wake up not feeling well, you go to the doctor, doctor says, Ronnie, I can't see anything wrong with you, but you've not been sleeping well, you've been, exhibiting a lot of things that are not well. So he gets a pad and prescribes medicine. He knows what he has prescribed, but 9 out of 10 of us do not know what the doctor has written on the piece of paper. And we're going to spend our money on it and swallow it because doctor said so. And sometimes doctor is our younger brother. Sometimes doctor is the godparent for our children. Sometimes doctor is our closest friend. We were at university together. But you know, guys, that medicines are toxic, and that's why they write on the envelope 1 times 3, because if you made a mistake and made it 3 times 3, you'd end up in a department of Mulago known as toxicology. Now, we also get toxicity from our lifestyles. There are some of us who drink alcohol. It ends up in the body. We smoke tobacco. We eat fried foods. We use family planning products, and all these things have an effect. But finally, we also get toxicity from the effects of electromagnetic radiation, from the tools of modern technology, which include your smartphone, your flat screen TVs, the laptop computers, and all the things we use. Now, all this toxicity enters the body and surrounds your 3.4 trillion body cells and creates oxidation. And the oxidation means if it is a metal that is left in the garden, after 1 month you can get it and clean it and it's still metal. But for a living organism like a body cell, once they undergo oxidation, they start changing not only shape, which they call mutation, but they also change functionality. And that's why a woman's breast was created simply for only and only one function, to create breast milk for a baby. But because of the degradation of our organs and the effects of the toxicity I've talked about, the cells in a woman's breast can now become malfunctional. So they start mutating, they start forming circles, and we jokingly say they form circles, but they don't save money. And the circles become inflammations. Inflammations become tumors. And then they say Mrs. So-and-so has breast cancer. But the woman's body was really never created to have breast cancer. And the man's body was never created to have prostate cancer. So, regenerative medicine helps to do two things. The first one, if you are your age, we say develop a culture of checking your body to find out what's going on in your body. Because once you find out what's going on in your body, and by good luck, these diseases have not yet sneaked in, then regenerative medicine helps you to lock them family out of your body. 100%, because those diseases are only caused by oxidative stress and toxic overload. The second thing, if you are my age and others of my age, maybe slightly younger or older, go and check. You need to know whether you have the money for the treatment or not. You need to know. Hosea chapter 4, who are the biblical people in the house? Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So you need to know. And regenerative medicine now has equipment that can test you and show you on the computer what is going right, what is not going right, what is not been right for a long time and maybe needs urgent attention. You can now find out all this information. And if you are my age and the diseases have already sneaked into the body, regenerative medicine helps to flush them out, including the cancers, unless they have reached stage 4. The Chinese have not yet found medicine for stage 4 cancer. But I see women in the room, their menstrual disorders that you've learned to accept because your mother said, you know, we are women, this is who we are, this is it. But menstrual cramps, otherwise known as menstrual pain, was really never part of the deal when you are being created. Menstrual cramps are part of what happens to your body when your hormones become imbalanced, and then you find that your menstrual cycle now has become chaotic. In June it was 1st June, in July it was 14th July, in August there was nothing, you didn't see anything actually. September it was the 24th. In June it was 2 weeks, in July it was a week and a half, in September we've now known that there are actually girls and women who stay in their period for up to 3 weeks. They lose a lot of blood, they become anemic. Many of them have to be admitted in hospitals simply for the management of pain. But I want to tell you that regenerative medicine has an answer for all these things. And if you know a friend who has been married for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and they have failed to conceive a child, we have a solution for that as well. And I'd like to stop there and to say, many of you, your biggest dream is to drive a car and own a car. But there are many, many people in this country who pay more attention to the health of their car than to their body. The piece of paper around the steering says, after every 5,000 kilometers, please service the car. And that's not even a negotiation. A guy in overall will tell you, the car must be serviced now. And the guy never even went to school. You take the money and you service the car. If there is something broken, the question you ask is how much? Because you want the car to be in good condition. But you can replace the car anytime and get another car. You can also replace the parts in the car. But your body, you cannot replace your body. You are driving this one body until the end. And if there is any damage to the organs in your body, you cannot have them replaced. And we are simply trying to say, please try to prioritize your life, because your body works much harder than your car. When you reach your place of work, you pack it. You pick it in the morning, in the evening when you are going home. You reach home, you pack it. But your body is never packed. Your heart, your kidneys, your liver, your brain, your vitals, they are always working 24/7, 365 days since you were born. If your heart had taken a 20-second break, and I'm not even saying 20 minutes, I'm saying 20 seconds, they would say, he's gone. But no physician has ever told you that a body that works as hard as this deserves periodic body service. That's the culture we want to develop. I thank you.
Thank you so much for that bonus in as far as our discussions have been concerned. For the record, the much more older people of your age group are online watching us. Yes, this is an environment that brings together younger people, the majority of the population. Secondly, as a Rotarian as well, I am very honored because I am the incoming president of the Rotary Club of Chadondo Rugby. I am an honored person to be in your presence because you are doing a service project as we speak. We're very proud of the work that you're doing. We're so honored to associate with you today. You have come forth with information, as we have always said, that helps the public. And thank you so much for your catchphrase or catchwords today, which is really regenerative medicine. Your experience was meant to speak into the aspect of health today, and you have done it to service because your story of prostate cancer and having 2 kidneys affected would not have had you here if you were able to remember what he said on the journey that he started with as his history until regenerative medicine, depending on what you choose to like from China and not coming from China and keeping you here, has been very important. And the non-communicable diseases that you've spoken about and where they come from, we're living in a world of stress, and we're trying to juxtapose your discussion with what Dr. Ronnie was speaking about here, and the different kinds of toxicity, the GMOs, the sprayed foods that we keep eating, and the medicine that we are always swallowing without necessarily taking heed of what the prescribers are saying, and our lifestyles. I think our lifestyles also speak so much into what you've just spoken, because you're a grandparent, which means you have so much to share with us given your experience, and yeah, we wanted to use your opportunity and your testimony to speak to the young people. So you don't need to look for your age group. You are actually supposed to be speaking to us in order to understand how to maneuver aspects of life, especially as well when you spoke about the woman, a very critical part of our lives, especially the mothers, and how they have either gotten lost in the challenges that come before them as far as recreation, reproduction, as well as managing their hormonal imbalances. We've had scenarios where girls have not had periods for over a year, 2 years, or as you said, 17th 1 month and 23rd the other month, and the next month there's nothing. So we want to thank you so much. Would you please give him another round of applause? Clearly, we have gone through a very long day. I can testify that I have learned so much from your presentation, as well as the pre-current speakers. We began from the Parliament discussing governance and accountability. We went into looking into your eye care as well. We went into managing relationships, and we crowned it all up with a testimony in order to help us put practice to what we were learning. We have a few questions. We want to try to rush them. We've run out of time. Please bear with me. I want to ask a few questions because there are viewers out there that have followed us very, very, very disciplinedly, and we want to use the opportunity to thank you as you continue to speak to us. There are questions that have come from Afoyo Brenda. Thank you so much for sharing with us. You're asking a question to Catherine. Your question runs as such. Yes, what should young Ugandans expect from the next parliament? What should young Ugandans expect from the next parliament? That is for your Brenda. Thank you so much for asking that question. We have a question from Kakaire Enoch going to DK. Thank you so much for the conversation. Do we need constitutional, electoral, or procedural reforms to improve parliamentary effectiveness? Do we need constitutional, electoral, or procedural reforms to improve parliamentary effectiveness? Mr. Bongomin Denish was also asking a question to Gideon, but Gideon since excused himself for reasons beyond our control. He requested to leave. I would like to pose that question to DK, who is here. Because I mean, it was also the same thing that DK had shared. He shared disappointment in the parliament. The question is, it starts with a statement. You have expressed deep disappointment in the 11th parliament. If given a minute, what would you tell the current speaker, Right Honorable Jacob Oboth? Is that clear? Yes. And then Makanzo Boaz is asking, the 11th parliament was marred with corruption scandals and public disconnect. What do you think the 12th parliament should do to restore public confidence? That's a question that we shall pose to Catherine. The 11th parliament was marred with corruption scandals and public disconnect. What do you think the 12th parliament should do to restore public confidence? We have a question for Doctor. Your questions are coming from Liz and Prima. Yes, Liz and Prima, thank you so much. Are young people struggling with commitment, or are standards simply evolving? Are young people struggling with commitment, or are standards simply evolving? And what role does emotional maturity play in sustaining relationships today? What role does emotional maturity play in sustaining relationships today? Those are the questions we have. Do we have any questions from within? Okay, kindly approach. May you please take stock of those. Let's listen in from the person physically present, Mr. Shamil, and then we can get into answering the questions.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you so much. I'm the citizen for which you are all accountable to, our MPs, including the doctors. And as always, I'm always here every week to hold you accountable. I have two questions, one for Doctor and for our politicians. For Doctor, some of us have recently recovered from prostate cancer. And what guarantee, because our cancer institute is dead on arrival, what guarantees do we have to prevent the recurrence of these cancers? Because it's okay, yeah, you're now okay. I went for treatment, I'm now okay, I'm fine. But now there's no mechanism for constant checking, because our support had, some of us had to go to Nairobi, Kenya, and our support had to come from foreigners. I know of a popular wrestler called Roman Reigns. He had cancer twice, he defeated it twice, because there's regular screening. But here in Uganda, we have treatment of cancer. There are people who get done, yes, but there's a recurring cancer. So what measures do you think should be put in to have continuous screening for people for cancer? And our members of parliament, of course, we are all disappointed in the 11th parliament, and I blame us, the citizens, and the parliamentarians as well. I went to court, and everyone here knows it. I went to court, to the Constitutional Court, because I wanted my right to recall members of parliament. And then, guess what the judges tell me in the Constitutional Court? That the right to recall was under the movement system. So under the multi-party dispensation, the right to recall is with the political parties, save for the independent members of parliament. Okay. But then you have the case of Sechikubo and other people. The judge, unfortunately, Justice Arach died, but she tells us, no. Parliamentarians are answerable to the citizen. You people, us here, me, in this room who votes them. Now, on one hand, the court is saying, you can't recall back these idiots, so imbeciles, that are in parliament. On the other hand, you're telling me they are accountable to me, but I have to wait for 5 years to recall them back. So, one of the reforms that you people are suggesting, and the president talked about it, was to bring back our right to recall members of parliament. So, can you people please advocate for the right to recall back members of parliament? We don't have to wait 5 years for someone to be found with a Rolls Royce in their car, and then we remember that we are supposed to recall them back. Why can't, the provision is there in the Constitution. Why can't you say, okay, we are lobbying for a right to recall a member of parliament, if after 1 year, you're not doing what you're supposed to do? We just recall you back and bring someone who's more efficient than waiting for 5 years. The person has amassed enough money, and then you can't even defeat them at the ballot because they have money. So please, can someone talk about how we can get back our right to recall a member of parliament before the 5-year term expires? Thank you.
I wanted to request to take my question because I have an engagement. Sure. And if I miss it, I'll get into trouble with my wife.
Much obliged. Please go ahead.
Regenerative medicine differs from conventional medicine in one very, very significant way, that it deals with what causes the disease. And so even with cancer, prostate cancer, regenerative medicine removes what causes the disease, what causes the hormonal imbalances in your body that leads your prostate gland to start enlarging and doing strange things. Let me explain it using a disease that is probably more familiar, and that's the disease called diabetes. You have diabetes because your pancreas is no longer producing enough insulin. Insulin is what breaks down the sugar in your food. But the pancreas was created for only and only the purpose of making insulin. But because of the degradation of organs due to the toxicity I've talked about, the performance of the pancreas will start declining over time as the toxic overload increases. And once the performance of the pancreas reduces, it means it's no longer producing enough insulin. And you'll go to Dr. whoever, and he will say, you're diabetic, we need to start putting you on medications. Now, that is conventional. That's a conventional option. But regenerative medicine now goes into your body and cleans out the toxins. And when it cleans out the toxins, it cleans them out from each and every organ in your body, from each and every cell in your body, leaving the organs now toxins free. And then another aspect of the medicine will start regenerating new cells in those same organs. New cells means that for the pancreas, now there is new capacity to start producing enough insulin that breaks down your food. It also means that even if you, maybe you could also be thinking about insulin resistance. Insulin resistance means that you have a normal pancreas, it produces enough insulin, but there is a hormonal imbalance in your body that makes it difficult for the insulin and the sugar in your food to meet, so that there is a chemical reaction that enables the sugars to be neutralized. That's what is known as insulin resistance. Regenerative medicine will rebalance the hormones in the body and ensure that now the pancreas can produce only the insulin that's needed, and the pancreas will meet with the sugar in your food, and there will be a reaction, and nobody will know where the diabetes went. And for all the other non-communicable diseases, whether it's the menstrual disorders that I talked about, whether it is arthritis, whether it's gout, whether it is high blood pressure, all those diseases, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, all those diseases, as long as regenerative medicine takes out what causes the disease will go away. And so that's how different it is, that there is not going to be a recurrence. I was wearing a pad, the world's first and only male pad, male health pad. And when I first started wearing this pad in my briefs, I would find a deep stain on the pad. And I'm a clean person. And so I told the person who had sold me these pads and said, I'm seeing a stain on my pads. And he said, very good news, Uncle JB. It means the pad is doing its job of sucking the toxicity from your reproductive system. And he said, as soon as it finishes doing its job, you'll put on the pad and you'll find that it's still clean. And that's what eventually happened. And that's how regenerative medicine differs from conventional. Because conventional deals with the symptoms, but regenerative medicine deals with the actual cause.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Very, very important information. We can't thank you more. And yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much. The name is actually Robert. The name is Robert. Sorry. It's well. Thank you. Doctor, please, your questions. Briefly, as you also give us your parting shots. Sorry, you can use the microphone there.
Are young people struggling with commitment, or standards are evolving? Both are true. For the longest time, even older generations have been struggling with commitment, because commitment is painful. You know, I'll give you an example. When you get married, they tell you you have to protect your wife. Sometimes it's very hard to protect her when you know she's wrong, or to protect her when you cautioned her, which is an average emotional reaction. If I told you not to go there and you go there, but I still have to protect you, it's definitely going to be painful. But that's commitment, because what that means is through thick and thin, because there's going to come a time X when you need the same commitment from the other person. I would definitely say standards are also evolving. There's a very, very little percentage of young people who don't think you can get married on 10 million shillings. Or you can do a kwanjula that is under 20 million shillings. Very many people think you need to first save, you need to get a loan, but that is a standard. I mean, if you love the person, you know the person, and you're committed to the person, they'll definitely talk. Social media will definitely go on. But when you are in a happy relationship, nobody will talk, but you'll be healthy. So I think standards have changed, and they will still change, because in the reality of psychologies, there has to be change. Even in relationship changes. When you've just met, you're different from when you're 5 years. I mean, you fought enough to premeditate a fight coming, you know? So change is inevitable. The other question was, what role does emotional maturity play in sustaining relationships today? A lot. So many times your partner might be wrong, but because you're emotionally mature, you say she made a mistake or he made a mistake. But that doesn't remove how you feel. I'm definitely angry with you, but I'm not going to go to social media and rant. I'm not going to call you out. I'm going to exercise a certain level of maturity, because I know you're wrong, but you're my person. Because one day I'll be wrong, and I'll expect someone to exercise that same level of emotional maturity. So yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for those answers. May we please proceed to the lady?
Thank you very much, Mr. Robert. So the question of what should young Ugandans expect from the 12th Parliament?
Closer to the microphone, please. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, we as young Ugandans should mainly have hope. But again, I would like to go back to what Dr. Ronald said. As a normal person, you should find a way to weigh down your expectations, right? We are at least represented by fellow youth. We have the Mukono MP, we have, well, the yet again announced leader of opposition might not be my age, but is still seen as a young person who has done a really great job in pushing for the rule of law out there in the Parliament. And accountability, which not only answers the first question, but also the second question on the very many corruption cases that were there in the 11th Parliament. There is the Leadership Code Act, where it's Section 4. There is declaration of income, assets, and liabilities, right? So I think, I don't know how often it is done, but there is doing it, and then there is implementing. So I think that's what we should hold up for, like corruption cases, but also looking back at what Honorable Paul Muir said, maladministration, right? You receive funds, and instead of administering them where they're supposed to be, you divert them, then we get to corruption. So if the main vice is ruled out, if it's brought down, I think that will enable the 12th Parliament make a big impact and try to gain back good reviews from the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Derek, kindly take on your questions, but also remember to answer the speaker who spoke here, Shamil, about the aspect of what he raised. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm very delighted that my colleague has spoken about the issue concerning corruption and all that. It's pertinent. Maybe let me talk about constitutional, electoral and procedural reforms to improve parliamentary work. I think this conversation has persisted for the last, at least, ever since we joined multi-party politics. Since 2005, over time, courts of law have, the Supreme Court has employed and stated that we need a number of electoral reforms. But I think the issue is political will. Even when court gave its ruling in Amama Mbabazi and versus Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and Electoral Commission about internet, about the army and all that, there has not been effort by the executive maybe to give a chance for such electoral reforms. We had even hope that when Norbert Mao came into office, he promised us electoral reforms, but later on, when we are going next election, he said that he was frustrated and he couldn't proceed with that, even when he had time and met cabinet. So it's a challenge that we need maybe our leaders to have a better political will to have that. Then on disappointment, yes, what would I tell OO? Maybe what I will tell him is to restore public trust. Can he move away from loyalty, too much loyalty to the appointing authority, now to putting interests as far as his office is concerned? We see that from the other phrase of let not make sure that bargain and don't get numbers. Like, can we move away from being so loyal to our appointing authority to now doing what our officers call us to do? I will tell him restore public trust, because the public has lost interest in Parliament. Recalling members of Parliament, yes, from Norbert Mao versus Attorney General Sechkubo and another versus Attorney General, they made arguments. In fact, the counsel for the plaintiff or the petitioners made a very good argument in relation to that, but still the Attorney General came up and said that that would have been within the movement system and did give him a chance to do that, challenging Article 84 and 85, 4 and 7, respectively, in that lane. I think it goes back to political will and how, goes back to Montesquieu, what he said that the importance of democracy is to have these three arms of government do their work effectively. However, in case of an excessive, we need checks and balance. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for so much that has been shared. It has been a very, very crazy marathon of things that are known and unknown to those that are lawyers and non-lawyers. It has been an interaction of different individuals and expertise. It has been a very intriguing discussion for all of us. We cannot thank you much more than that. As we come to the conclusion of this session today, we'd like to thank all our panelists who have done us good today. Could you give them a round of applause? Yes, thank you. Our guests, kindly clap for yourselves. You've been a very awesome audience. Our partners, the members of the media, and every participant who has joined us online, we're very, very grateful. We thank you for bringing very many items to the fore. One, that strong institutions matter. Two, that healthy relationships matter. And three, mental wellness equally matters. On behalf of the organizers of the function, we would like to thank you as the Rule of Law Department for making time and sharing with us your wisdom. And I would like to invite the Acting Secretary General of the Uganda Law Society, Advocate Babu Sali, who joined us earlier on but was a little engaged again, to come and give a vote of thanks in order to have the function concluded. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. In a special way,
I wish to thank all the speakers for today. That is Honorable Paul Mwiru in his absentia, Derek Kakoza, Mr. Mwanje Gideon, Miss Catherine Nampima, and Dr. David Ronald Iga. Yes, I was here earlier as Robert said, but then we are having another activity which is in relation to navigating election petitions, and it is also ongoing at the same premises. So it was hard for me to be in 2 different places at the same time, but however I was following online, and the session was informative, and it is one that speaks to our daily workload, our daily activities as advocates in practice, because for the sessions that I followed, it is like we use too much of our bodies in working than actually resting them. And then eventually you find that at a young age, advocates are having problems, not only emotional, but even physically, because we break down. And I think I'm one of those. I don't know if Robert told you, that is just at the age of, I think, 29 or 30. I was already diagnosed with blood clots in the right leg. And, you know, it had to go through a lot of treatment. But, you know, that is something that is recurring. But it's because from home, you get home at around midnight, sleep until 5, get to office by 6, you're behind your desk, and then you do not have time to do anything. That is for those who sit just behind the desk jobs, for those of the legal departments and all that. So with such interactive sessions, when we have doctors and then those who can speak to our members, you find that in a way it helps us as advocates to really be at our best. And then also for those who spoke in relation to the performance outlook of the 11th Parliament, and then what to look for or look out in the 12th Parliament, that was also one that is timely. And we find that a lot has been going on, and with the audience of advocates, we also have students of the law. I mean, it is always vital or important for them to have an understanding of how is their parliament running, or the assessment of the previous working of the parliament. In a special way, on behalf of the Radical New Bar Governing Council of the Uganda Law Society, I wish to thank the speakers for sparing time on short notice, because I know most of these topics are framed and the invites always come on short notice. But even with that, you've spared your time to come and speak to our membership. And I also wish to thank the members of the Uganda Law Society who are here physically and those following online, and also the students for making time to come and be part of this interactive public engagement series, which is always there on Thursdays. I believe this is the 16th series of 2026 of the Rnblive, and we have always seen a couple of students spare their time and come here to follow, because I mean we are always accountable to the public. That is as per our mandate under Section 3 of the Uganda Law Society Act, and therefore seeing that the message we send out, yes, okay, yeah, seeing that the message we send out is really one that moves, and then also has students come here, is one that we do not take for granted. And you can always spare time when we have sessions like this. You could also reach out to our head rule of law, Madam Afra Pio, in the event you have something that you would like to discuss on this forum, and then she will spare time for you. We've had students of LDC come here. We've had students of Islamic University and Makerere before, and we have given them audience because this is a public engagement, and you all reserve the right to come and speak for as long as you've communicated early enough. We will give you the opportunity as the Radical New Bar Governing Council of the Uganda Law Society.
Also, in a special way, I wish to inform those who have sight issues physically here and those who are following online that we have La Pair something. What is that? I think it's in relation to eyesight and fixing of people's eyes. So those who have issues with your eyes, feel free, come, and the prices are affordable, because I've seen people like Adam, he has also passed by, and they are hospitable, because I've seen they are acting like the banks, whereby the people that, or the loan officers at the point of you going to ask for a loan are pretty ladies, but then at the time of enforcement, they will send for you people that you know you only have one option of either paying or paying. So I do not want to think that even these opticians are like that, but they are doing a good job. So you can spare some time and then pass by there. Yes, with those few remarks, I wish to close the R&B session for today. Thank you all for coming, and be blessed.
Lunch is served. From here, you'll be invited to the cafeteria to share a meal as we have further conversations after this session. In the meantime, may God bless you, and thank you so much for making time. Have a good day.